jealous of thoughts, watching your every move. I'm obsessed with you. Twisted thoughts erupting and slowly decaying. My jealousy, my envy is tearing me apart. A wicked man and his wicked deeds,
masquerading as a child
a
of
monster
light.
with his cruel knees, as he dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
Slithering around the murky green swamp, voodoo priests enchanting the dance, making deals in the dark. The laughing spirits and all that they hunt. A wicked man and his wicked deeds,
Masquerading as a child
a
of light.
monster with his cruel knees, as he dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
A foul smell in the air, oceans fill my lair. Deception lurking and waiting, with envy in my eye. My spirits ascend to spy. Voodoo is the ritual, odor fills the room. Smoke-stained walls, and the energy is gloom. A wicked man and his wicked deeds,
Masquerading as a child
a
of light.
monster with his cruel knees, as he dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
Twisting the truth, for there is none in me. Weaving dark magic all through the night. Tears of envy, my jealousy ignites. Darkness encasing a life in the night. My lying tongue grows fatter with every deceitful breath. My soul is rotting and it tastes like death. A wicked man and his wicked deeds,
Masquerading as a child
a
of light.
monster with his cruel knees, as he dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
The cloaked deceit, this is my life, I'm doomed to repeat. A treacherous heart, envy growing in me. I wish I was you, with everything that I do. A wicked man and his wicked deeds,
Masquerading as a child
a
of light.
monster with his cruel knees, as he dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
Reaching out to the filthiest of scum, wishing I was him, not the man I become. The sickness in me, I'm a lunatic disease. Traitors and manipulators, part of my flock. We twist the truth and dance in the dark. The flames of hell are licking my feet.
Good will prevail. You will all fail.
All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT, and this is a pillow because I have my elbows messed up, so I have to use it again. It's getting better though. Once it gets to that stage where it's just like hurting and moving, it feels kind of itchy. Like it kind of like there's like a deep itch, like scratch. You can't scratch inside of it. It's almost like how a scab feels, and you can feel it deep on the inside, and it is horrible. You know. And I used to be one of those people. They'd be like, "Well, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy," and I'm like, "Yeah, I do," but but I'm not anymore, man. I've really truly have like just given it up when it comes to that. God is good. You know, your enemies cares. They'll bury themselves. So now I got to do a pillow. And we actually used to have pillows in the PRT store, right? Didn't we? At the
Yeah, we had them in the printful store before it stopped working.
I think we sold maybe half a dozen the whole time we had it.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing. I don't even know how much or what we sold. I wasn't really the one that kept up with all that. I really couldn't tell you. I don't even keep up with that stuff. Hey, Michigan Rob, how's it going? So tonight it's crazy because okay, so I had 3 interviews today to do. And one of them was, oh man, it knocked my, like I always say that, oh, this one knocked my socks off. Well, this one really did. I mean, it was creepy. And then there were a couple of short little stuff that I read, like just that it wasn't like that's why we got to do a show where it's just like little short stuff, but scary, creepy.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so we have somebody that's coming on who's going to talk about their paranormal experiences, and they had an encounter with what can only be described as a flying humanoid vampire. I don't know what it is. I mean, you can label it, you can call it, you know,
some kind of monster,
something. But I'll give you one that I read today. This was in the email. It might still be in there. It might be. I don't think I filed it. This lady was from Marshville, Tennessee. Am I saying it right now? I don't think I got the right name. She'd be gonna be like, that ain't where I live. I'm sorry. You're either from Tennessee or Florida because I read a bunch. So it was somewhere in the South, right? But they moved to this area where it was like real swampy, marshy area. And she said it was the first time that she'd ever seen green, actual, like, you know how whenever vegetation rots and it has like this gas that comes up or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So she saw this greenish gas like coming from this rotting vegetation out in this swampy area behind her house. I think it was in Knoxville, Tennessee, something like that, somewhere. But I could have swore the word marsh was in there. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I have to go back and look. But it was just I read it and it was freaky, dude. And so she sees this face, and I kind of got the image of like the swamp thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm talking about? And so I was sitting there going like, what is that? And then she said that from the face, these kind of stringy spaghetti-like tentacles came down, and then it formed, and it became like a greenish, glowing Bigfoot. Like, and then it just like, and then once it formed, it was kind of vibrating, and then it took off running, like not running, but walking away.
Yeah.
So here's something interesting. Later on, I'm going to bring somebody on, and not just the guy that's going to tell these encounters is a crazy thing that happened, but about somebody from South Texas who actually, and I lost that encounter. The lady that gave me that encounter, I wish I could get in touch with her. They were at a paranormal convention, and you were there, and you gave it, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to let them surprise everybody. And so, yeah, they gave us this. It was just weird, dude. Anyway, and it involved a green creature like that. And so there have been four different that I can think of off the top of my head that were greenish Bigfoot looking creatures. One of them, I think, was probably it was probably something that was covered in like moss or something in Louisiana.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, man. It was just it was a weird thing when she saw that thing form. But like I've said before, we've had somebody come on this show and talk about a pig thing turning, or a pig, more than just a hog, right?
Mhm.
Turn into a person,
Like a fully clothed person too.
fully clothed. Yeah. We had another woman that claimed they drove right through a werewolf near Lexington.
Mhm.
And then some people who said that they drove through I mean, these people were on the show.
Didn't you say that it felt like going through a Nerf
Yeah,
football or something,
yeah.
like spongy?
And these people were on the show, and it's unbelievable. But in talking to, and I have permission just to say his name, but with JJ, talking to JJ today, I really enjoyed talking to him. But he, and he was very adamant about not telling his encounter. Like he didn't. I wish he would tell it, but he says I get really bad, like stage fright. So the guy that we have coming on tonight, he's kind of was that way too. Remember when you were talking to him earlier?
Yeah.
And I said, look, don't let it get to you, because both of them could speak pretty good, but some people just can't. They just can't do it. And when they get, to tell somebody something, and two of the people I talked to today that I interviewed, two guys and a female, all different people from different parts of the country, the same thing. Like they told somebody at work what happened, and they just got mocked.
Mhm. That's how it goes.
Yeah. So sucks, man. It really sucks. Me, when I used to tell people mine, I'd be like, I saw this. What's up? And they'd be like, I believe you. I'd be like, okay, I'm just making sure. Why are you ducking and dodging? What's wrong with you?
You don't think it's funny, do you?
They're like, you got your fist balled up. I'm like, I got some Skittles. What are you doing? You don't like peanut M&Ms? Remember that dude? I slapped the Skittles. Remember that? He came walking up with the drink and the Skittles, and he's like throws them down. Oh,
yeah.
And I get out of the truck, and Anthony's like, "That's the guy that I wouldn't let in the gym. He wants to beat me."
Yeah, he was all pissed off. It's like, did we pay good money to go to this gym? I'm not just letting you in. I'm trying to do my deadlifts.
And so right when I'm getting out of the truck, Anthony's like, yeah, that's the guy that's trying to beat me. And that dude saw Anthony. He was a big brother too, man. And he just like made a beeline. So I guess what happened was this dude didn't pay his gym dues or something. And he was a big ass dude, man. And he was, I when you came and told me that he was like waiting for people to fill up here, I'll tell you a quick funny story. I think it's funny, unless you're aversion to violence, but anyway, I was working out. I was on that sled thing where you push up.
Yeah.
And you and Tony come up to me and you're like, hey, there's this guy outside. He's trying to fight Anthony. And I'm like, what? Like, because that's just pretty chill, even though you have some big dudes in there lifting a lot of weight. Everybody's pretty respectful because, when it's all bodybuilders and power lifters, you're not going to want to fight with people who, if they punch you, I don't care if you're big too, they're going to knock you out. Like if I punch, you're going to get knocked out. You punch me, I'm going to get knocked out. Let's just not punch each other. How about that? Especially in the day and age of, pistols and everything. So we're not trying to go around fighting everybody. Next door is Black Sheep Boxing. That's where, my friends run the show over there. And so if you want to go fight next door. You can just literally walk out and go walk next door. And then there's a jiu-jitsu studio around the other side. So if you want to fight, go fight over there. You ain't go fight over, So this dude was banging on the glass and Anthony didn't let him in. Right. And so I guess this dude got real mad. And so he was outside raging and stuff. And he was a big guy. And so I didn't see him though. And so when I opened that door though, the girl that worked there, she came running in real fast. She was like, oh, thank God you're here, Wolf. She's like, this guy was outside and he was acting a fool. And she was like, and she's like, I'm glad you're here, And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, who was he? And she gave me a description of him, whatever, his African-American dude. I don't know who he is. Don't work out there, And so I was over there. And I went back to finish doing what I was doing. And we work out for that, 20, 30 minutes, right? Yeah. So then we leave, and my brother, he messages me always at the most inopportune times. He's like, I need coffee or I'm going to fall out. And so I'm like, dang it. So there's a 7-Eleven about 2 blocks up the road. So I go, I'm going to have to stop here and get some coffee. So I get out to go get the coffee, and I see this guy walking up, and he's a big dude, man. He's wearing all sweats. Like he's got, this outfit, this matching outfit with the Under Armour, and he's got this big red emblem on it, whatever. And I don't know what he's claiming or what he's doing or whatever. He looked, kind of menacing, just the way he looked. He was angry, and he had his hand like this, and he was doing that, and he had a drink, like an energy drink in the other hand. And I get out, and he's just like walking really fast toward the truck. I'm like, why's that guy coming in our direction over here? Mm-hmm. And Anthony goes, he's like, you're like, Wolf. That's the guy.
It's like, hey, is that dude? That's that guy from the gym who was screaming and banging on the glass.
And I'm like, I'm already like out of the truck. So your inclination, you want to avoid trouble, right? So your inclination is get back in the truck and try to drive. If I would have done that, he would have tried to punch the glass and probably hit one of us, me or Tony, on that side. Or he would have ran around this side and tried to smack Anthony. So I was already out of the truck, and this dude was coming toward me. I didn't have a lot of choice. And so you make a decision right then and there. And I looked, and I saw, like, he took the Skittles. Remember, he put them in his mouth, and then he threw them on the ground.
Yeah.
And then he had the drink, and he threw the drink down, and he was like, what? And I'm like, and I'm standing there, and I'm watching, and what I'm looking for, especially if you got somebody who's not, there's not really a safe way out of this, right? You're on camera at 7-Eleven. I remember you're in Austin. So you go out pulling a gun and that guy doesn't have a gun. You're going to be in trouble. Okay. I'm just going to let you know right now. It's not as easy as this. Let me just pull out a pistol and start. Well, here's my, what's up? This ain't, Virginia City and Bonanza, So I look at this guy and I go, what's your problem, man? He goes, what's your problem? What's your problem? And he starts going back and forth. And I said, look, man. And he wiped his hands and he flattened down his hoodie because he had like drink or something on his hand, remember?
Yeah.
And so I noticed there was nothing in his, that little area where you stick your hands for your, and then I noticed his warm-ups didn't have any pockets. And so I thought, okay, this dude's unarmed. I could see it. That emboldened me too. I was like, look, blood, I ain't got no, he goes, blood. I'm like, well, you're wearing red. I don't know what you are. Crip, blood. What do you want to be called? Douchebag. And this dude squared up with me, and he kept pointing at Anthony. He's like, I want him. He's like 3 times the size of Anthony. I said, well, you're closer to my size. You got me. You're not going to fight my nephews, And like I told him, I said, stay in the truck. Okay, stay in the truck because this dude is a big dude, whatever. And as soon as he got within slapping distance, I just open hand slapped the shit out of him.
Hit the reset button.
And I slapped. And so he fell backwards and he kind of caught him. He did pretty good. He caught himself like Spider-Man. He did a pretty good job of catching himself. And I had just done legs, folks. Legs is like you're toasted. Like I couldn't move my leg. I couldn't move very good. And so I said, oh, good. I got him real good. And I said, you want some more? He got up. He was like, what's up? So he kind of like rubs his face and acts, real, whatever. Like he's gonna
Hulk rage.
Yeah, he's going into a Hulk mode. This is not my final form. My next form is going to be much worse.
Like a caged tiger.
He's terrifying, And so I'm standing there waiting for this fool to get set up again. I slapped him again. Only this time I got him on the ear. I got him real good. And he did like this kind of somersault thing and kind of landed like a break. When you try to break dance and you don't land correctly. And then he hopped right back up. And then he was shaking off the cobwebs. And then I was like, okay, are we done? And so obviously, I was wanting to go into the store. So this guy started to walk away. And so I figured, well, he's walking away, and so I was going to try to run in the store real quick and get what I needed to get. But he came walking back. And so I was like, oh my gosh. So the guy from the store came out and I talked to him briefly and I said, look, man, he goes, no, I saw what happened. I said, I wasn't trying to fight this guy. He just he wouldn't stop. And I'm not going to wait for this dude to hit me. He's a big guy. And he goes, no, he's been here before. He hangs around in this area and he's caused a lot of problems. And so, but he took off. But as we were driving out, he started kind of running toward the truck again because he saw Anthony. And so he was like obsessed with doing something to Anthony. And I was just like, I said, dude, if he hits the windshield, I'm getting out. I'm going to get out again. We'll finish this fight. But I thought it was just funny though. He came walking up and he was just eating Skittles,
Yeah.
like he just.
It's like, what are the odds? We're working out at the gym, minding our own business, and then we stop at the 7-Eleven, and he's just right there.
Yeah.
Like, and he walked up at the same time that we parked in front of the store. So it was like we just both came perfectly in our paths crossed.
Yeah, and it doesn't. It's so weird how that happens.
Yeah.
It's so weird how that happens.
It's like he was destined for a whooping.
And he really didn't get one though.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, like, you were nice though, because
Mhm.
like you could have like punched him, but like you just kind of like open hand, like palm strike them, and then I mean, like you could have really opened up on him, but like that wasn't really your objective. You just wanted him to like go away and like to send a message like, look, I can tear you up, so you might want to just go away.
That's why it's important to know how to defend yourself.
Yeah.
Because that happened in front of a vape store too, and this guy he wouldn't stop. He was messing with this other guy, and I was standing there watching it, and the guy just kept saying, look, I don't think the guy that was aggravating him was homeless. I think he was just, whatever. And I had gone in there to grab because I vaped back then. This is years ago, because I was trying to quit dipping snuff. And eventually I just quit dipping, period. I just, so I go in there and this dude says, well, what about you? You got $1? And I said, yeah, I got dollars. And I'm stupid back then. Okay. I'm not even the kind of guy though. I just pulled some cash out. I got $. I got, what you going to do? I said, what's up? You going to take them from me? He goes, hell yeah. And he starts to kind of pull up his pants. And as soon as he looks up, I'm just like, whack, whack. I smacked him twice. Like, and he like kind of went toward the wall, then lurched, the second slap sent him reeling out into the parking lot. And I was like, we good? Are we good? And he was just like kind of doing this, with his eyes blinking real fast. I said, all right, because if you're in my way, I'm gonna run you over. How about that? I don't know you, and don't come at me, because I'm gonna punch you next time. I'm gonna hit you. And the dude that was there was like already calling the police, and he's like, yeah, this guy's been out here harassing people. He grabbed some girl earlier by her shirt, whatever. It's a mental illness. Because that dude with the Skittles, he was just like, he's mentally ill.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? I mean, square up with someone because they wouldn't let you into the gym because you didn't pay your dues or whatever. It's just a weird, people are jacked up, dude. But okay, but as scary as that can be, facing people, there are people that can help you with this. If you need to defend yourself and you're in the Austin area, I would recommend, there's just hit me up. I got about 10, 12 different guys that I'm really close with that coach anything from jujitsu to kickboxing. I have my personal favorites, and nobody's paying me to say this. I don't want to say it on here. But I have a lot of friends that are doing that, and if I say one over the other, then they might get because I've done that recently. Somebody's like, what about me? You didn't mention me. Okay. So just hit me up though, and I'll give you whatever part of Austin you're in, or if you're in the entire Central Texas area and you can travel a little bit. I got friends who can coach you how to box, wrestle, jujitsu, kickboxing, whatever you want to learn. Disarmament is not recommended if you're not really familiar with how to do it. There's a lot of people that'll bluff and pretend like they can teach you how to disarm somebody. I'm going to give you some advice. If somebody has a pistol on you, don't try to grab it and take it away from them. Just don't do that. Knife either, because people don't realize one wrong stab in the wrong place and you're gone.
I mean, you can get accidentally stabbed to death. Like it's extremely easy, and a lot of that like self-defense course on how to like disarm someone, take a knife or take a pew away from them. It's just snake oil. Like don't take that seriously. Those people are going to get you killed. Like if someone has one of those weapons pulled on you, I mean that's it. Like you're just gonna have to deal with it and do what they say. Sorry, but you will get yourself killed. You absolutely will, by listening to that one guy who has a YouTube channel all about disarming people with weapons. That's not real. That's Steven Seagal movie stuff. It's not real.
And I've been stabbed twice and shot at. That's why I think God has protected me more times than I can count, because I have been shot at multiple times, and I'm a big dude. You know, you can't hit me. You can't hit the broadside of a barn. But I was fortunate. I've been fortunate. So let me get my earbuds in and let's get going here because we got the guest. He's backstage and he's ready to talk. Here's what's happening. I need you to say some prayers for some of the people here. We had a 50-car pileup here today in Texas, right outside of Amarillo. And pray for Robert Kreider. His power is out and they're having problems with, I think he had said something about the water, everything, because there's like a sandstorm going on. So Kreider was slated to be on tonight, and he's a really good guest. I got to get him back on. He's been on once before, but I need to get him back on and talk about what he knows and probably record with him too. We are, like I said, in the process of setting up times just in scheduling to record with multiple different people. So that's definitely happening. I have to make that a priority because there are so many people that need to have their stories told. And so, yeah, I need to record with some people. I know I'm scheduled for, I think, next Thursday, I'll be recording. So that's one of our off days so that I can get some stuff done. We're probably going to start dropping more podcast episodes. And we may, after the end of probably sometime in April, we may not do Fridays. We may just start doing extra podcast episodes. It'll come out like on a Saturday. But we don't know yet. We don't know how we're going to do it. We're going to see. We're going to play it by ear. There's no shortage of guests. There's no shortage of people who have had encounters. There's no shortage of encounters. When people say they don't have any more encounters or stories, I don't know what you're doing, why you can't. Well, it's just infinitely lazy or incompetent. There's a ton of people out there trying to tell their encounters. Maybe they don't want to tell them to you. People that say that, though, I mean, it's like, what? Like, I don't know. That just sounds weird to me. So what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing?
How's it going?
Good.
So everybody, this is Tyler Welsh. Tyler, you want to say hi? And you want us to call you Creed?
Yeah, Creed will work, man. That's a nickname that I kind of go by. People know me by.
Okay, cool. All right. So, so you were my third interview today, and we ended up talking, and you had so much information, and so much to talk about that I was like, man, this is going to be somebody that I could bring on and just put you on tonight, and I just because I was thinking I'll probably just do open lines, but I told you, hey, why don't you just come and tell your story, especially when you started talking about. And you had, I guess, messaged me before. And
yeah, I have.
So, yeah. And so I read your encounter and I thought, man, this guy's got a lot of good stuff. And so here you are. But your story, the one that was really gripping, and like I've heard a couple of the things that you've had going on, you had originally reached out to a colleague of mine.
Yep, Ken Gerhardt.
Yeah,
I think I pronounced that correctly. Yep.
Yeah, and so you've had where are you from? Just tell everybody where you're from first.
I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Grand Rapids.
It's on the west side of Michigan. It's not by Detroit. Everybody thinks when you're from Michigan, you're from Detroit. It's not true. But I'm not in the UP, so it's kind of. I'm 2 hours from Detroit, 2.5 hours from Detroit, roughly, and about 3 hours from Chicago. So we get it all, man. It's a little city. It's the second biggest city in Michigan, though. So
yeah,
if you're from Michigan, you know Grand Rapids.
Yeah, yeah, and really, I was making a joke the other day about somebody, I can't remember what it was. Oh, I had a friend of mine who was talking about a girl that was stalking him, and I said, "Dude, 2 hours is nothing to a stalker."
Yeah.
So like, she's like, "Oh, I was just in the neighborhood." I'm like, "Well,
motivated,
baby." Because he was like, he's like, "I was in the neighborhood." He's like, "Yeah, I live in Chicago. You live in Milwaukee. What's going?" That's funny though, because
you took a wrong turn and ended up here.
Oops.
But, because he used to live outside of Grand Rapids, and he was telling me about somebody stalking him, and the girl that was stalking him lived in the suburbs of Detroit. He just shows up. I'm like, that's 2 hours. 2 hours is nothing for a stalker.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about that?
Mm-hmm.
I said, that's nothing for a stalker. Stalker just show up, be like, Oh, really? I didn't know it was your birthday.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, this is your house.
but yeah. So let's start with this. When your whole life you've had like stuff happening to you. You were what we would call an experiencer.
Oh
Right?
yeah, definitely, man. I've had wide ranges of things. I mean, it's not a lot, but it is a lot if you think about it. The things I mean, I'd have to on hand probably 8 encounters or 6 that I can think of, but
Mm-hmm.
that is a lot if you think about it. I mean, for to see things that are unexplainable, it really is a lot, and it causes trauma. A little bit of trauma in your life because it's unexplainable and nobody talks about it. So it does impact you. So and
Yeah, and
it
one of the
changes you. It
things
makes you view things differently. So
it does, and one of the things that you said to me, Creed, which really kind of resonated, was like you had said that you had told your coworkers, and that is definitely okay. So a couple things there. That is kind of a synchronicity, and well, it's not kind of, it is, because earlier in the day somebody had said that she had done the same thing and they ridiculed her, and then you said that, and I was like, damn, that's crazy. So 3 people, and it all told. Well, the other person didn't tell the cover. He told family members that kind of mocked them or teased them about their
hey, look,
encounter.
I'm gonna say it like this. That I don't know if you know this story about the people that lived in the cave. If you're familiar with that.
Which one?
What? Okay, so these people lived in the cave. There was a fire going. They had a fire. They didn't know it was a fire. There were shadows on the cave wall. They would watch these shadows, and they thought this was life. There was
Hmm.
people manipulating them. They had a fire, and they were using their fingers and were controlling them. One person found this out, and he went past the people creating the shadows. He went up out the cave, and he found sunlight. He
Plato's
went
cave.
back, tried to tell the other people. They were so terrified. They thought they knew it all where they were at. They killed them because they were scared of the truth.
Yeah,
They
the
killed
truth.
that
Yeah,
the man that had the truth for him.
yeah. People would.
So,
You're
so
right,
people,
and that
yeah,
is a
they're
good.
gonna ridicule you. They're gonna prosecute you. They're not gonna believe you, man. Seeing is believing
Yeah,
for a lot of people,
yeah.
and that's why a lot of
Persecution
people
is
it's
a
hard
big
for
deal.
them, to believe in Christ or things in that nature. To be,
Mhm.
it's hard. They got to see to believe, and you got to see a different way. You can't just use your 2 eyeballs. A man who doesn't, a man who is blind in the mind is blind in the eyes.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so sad when you have these people that tell you these stories, or they give you their encounters, and their own spouse or their children or their parents or siblings or best friends will mock and make fun of them. One person quit going to church. She literally quit going to her church there in Alabama because of the ridicule that she faced. They just didn't believe. And then one person said, well, if you saw that werewolf looking creature, then maybe you're doing something bad in your life, Sister Susie. So you need to, get your life right, and I was like, that's not
Yep.
very, godly, of course. But that's what they did. And so she ended up not going to church. And then it created a rift with her mother and her mother's sister, her aunt, because they continued to go to that church. And it's not like it was a cult, but they didn't want to stop going to a church they'd gone to for 34 years. So they were just like, well, you're the one with the problem, because she made the mistake of talking to the pastor and the deacon, who were not really accepting of what she was telling them. And one of them called her a liar behind her back, and the other one just said that he thought that if that, like the other woman said, well, maybe something appeared to you because your life's not right. And she's like, well, what if these things just exist?
Yeah.
That could be another possibility, but yeah, I feel for you, dude. When you tell people, and they make fun of you, that's a very hard thing. And I hate that happens to people, but it happens quite a bit.
It does. You got to be strong person, be able to tell somebody that you're not real comfortable with, and trust them with trust them with that, and because they're gonna look at you, a little sideways, unless you got an open-minded person, and that's how you tell the difference between a person right there. Is when you tell them something that you kind of got locked up, a little bit inside, and you want to open and share that with, and because you're vulnerable, you know what I mean. You're open to judgment at that point.
Yeah, and so Your first encounter. Now you told me that you had encounters with a lot of different. You've had a lot of different things happen, and like we've interviewed quite a few people. Most people that have come to Paranormal Roundtable have had more than one encounter with something strange, because I am of the opinion, and I've said this for a long time, and I've said it a lot, that people will actually, something will happen, and it sort of opens up that mind's eye to them seeing and hearing other things that are not, you know, just readily available to someone who's just going through their mundane day, their mundane life. And you know, I think that's there's something that happens when you're young and it opens it up. Now, would that be the case for you? Because I didn't ask that earlier in the interview.
I really wouldn't know what the case would be. It's just always at a young age. It's always been like a thing. My older sister, she's had experiences, and my mom. But I have five. There's five of us, but only three of us experienced stuff.
Mm-hmm. And your first and earliest experience, how old were you?
My first one, I gotta say, I was probably like, it's around the time Halo came out. It's like early 2000s. So I was young, man.
Yeah.
The Halo dropped. My brother's 11 years older than me, and he was playing. He was a big gamer and Xbox, Halo and stuff, and so I imagine I was probably
2002, I think, maybe.
I mean, I had the cognitive memory. I can remember it, so I was probably. I'm 29. So I was born 96, so I probably was 9 years old, maybe.
Yeah. And what was it?
Like a spirit or a shadow person, or whatever categorizes type of thing. A ghost. So basically, what happened? I can get into that. My first experience with paranormal. So my brother's room, he was in the basement, and there was this closet, and I've always had, like, before this happened, I always had this weird feeling about the closet in the basement in general. There was like, so you go down the stairs, take a right, there's a back room where it's, that dusty room that's unfinished back there, and then straight ahead was a bathroom, then hit a left, it was kind of like a living room, and then my brother's room was connected to the living room. It had French doors, it was like double doors. And to the right of the French doors was a walk-in closet. And that closet always gave me the heebie-jeebies, man. I always had like this weird feeling about it. And one night, I believe it was the weekend, because I was up late with my brother, and I was laying down toward the feet of the bed. His TV was toward the feet of the bed, old school TV. Had the original Xbox, the black one. Not that matters, but
No. Sometimes, I want to say something about that really quickly.
I mean, those details help me remember, though. That's kind of why I'm going through it. That's why I'm kind of refreshing my memory as I'm going through it, because I didn't really prep or go through this, and I don't speak upon a lot of this. I have, but I just don't. It's ain't a day-to-day thing. But I remember. So I'm laying. I fall asleep laying down. Basically, to rough it up, I fell asleep laying down, face down toward the TV. My brother ended up, whatever happened, he went to bed. He went up towards the pillows, because it's his bed, whatever. I'm his little brother, he gonna leave me alone, whatever. He sleep, little brother sleep. So he laying up there, man. So I hear this rattling is what woke me up. I woke up, I hear rattling. I hear like chains rattling. I'm like, what the hell? I don't even know what a ghost is for real. I'm just scary movie. I don't watch scary movies. You little kid, you run, you closing your eyes, watching Freddy Krueger or something. So I had no clue this shit was existed or real at this point. So I hear chain rattling. I'm like, I open my eyes, because I'm curious. What is that? Because we had cats and stuff, maybe cat messing around. It sounded like, so the way I can explain it was like a chain rattle, and then like a drag or something, like drag, chain. It was like dragging something. It sounded like something was like connected to a chain with something at the end of the chain that was dragging it. And coming around the corner of the French doors, one of the left door was open on the French door. Come around the corner, it was hunched over. It was all black. It was like a shadowy black figure. It was hunched over. I can see the outline. It was human, but it wasn't human. It was, ghostly. It was black though. It was a bad entity. Come to find later, I mean, we all kind of know blacker. If you believe in that kind of stuff, they usually typically are darker. The evil ones. So it was dark, and it had form to it though. It looked like it had a robe or some kind of thing, and then I could see it was dragging somebody to take a step. It would pull something, and his leg was behind it, like it had something on it. And it would take a step and would pull that leg forward. And that when it pulled that back leg forward, that was when it would drag something chain. So I'm seeing this, I'm like, whoa, now I'm squeezing my eyes shut tight. I'm freaking out, heart racing. Like, what the hell? So I gotta peek again. I peek, the thing's right. I'm on the edge of the bed. The thing's right at the edge of the bed, but it's squatted down now, and its eyeballs are at the frame of the bed, right in my face, staring at me. The eyes, and I looked into the eyes. The eyes were colorful, but they were dark colors, and they were swirling around. It was dark blues, dark purples, and like dark blacks, and it was swirling. The eyes, and I didn't see no nose. It had like a robe over his head, and it had eyes, and it was swirling. At that point, I grabbed the blanket, threw the blanket over myself, didn't go to sleep. I sweated my brother's bed up. I pissed his bed. He was so mad at me. He would not let me go back in his bedroom for over 2 years. Because I got him all wet with piss and sweat.
God, that's horrible. And you tried telling him what it was, and he probably told you, right, piss baby, you just peed in the bed.
I don't really remember too much me trying to tell him, or if I kept it to myself. But years down the road, I started to share stuff because I was going through. I experienced multiple things.
So let me say something about this encounter for a second here. The chain thing. Remember, Anthony, we did a show, and I can't remember which one. We've done a bunch, but we've talked about that, about the chains being the heaviness that weights you down.
Yeah.
And that is a very common theme, that these things will drag chains around. And there are many different theories as to why spiritual entities will drag. One when it comes to a human spirit is a purgatorial type state, and they're being held down by their own karmic debt. And then there's another one that's whenever someone is a spell caster, a sorcerer, some evil person that does these things, that sends these things to people, they will keep them on sort of a spiritual leash, sort of like their own silver cord. And they will chain these things down, and sometimes it's tangible. Now, it depends on the eye, the ojo dotado of the person that can see that. In Spanish, they say that. But if you can see it from a certain degree, like depending on how strong, like you were telling me when I interviewed you today about your mother she sort of has the ojo, she can see.
Yep.
And she said the auras. Now, that's interesting because that's a bloodline thing. And so when someone has that bloodline and they can see auras, or sometimes they can see exactly what is on these creatures, on these entities, and they'll see or hear the chains, and others won't. And I've heard, I'd say probably at least half a dozen cases over the last few years where someone will see the same entity. I think of one in particular. This was in Michigan. This was in Dearborn.
What is
and
it?
It was an Arab girl, and she was Jordanian, and she was seeing this, what they call it, a jinn, as it was chained. It had chains on it, like these red chains on this black entity. When her dad saw it, it just looked like a black floating entity with no legs. And so when I talked to her and her sister, and I haven't done this one yet because I'm trying to do an episode about this, but it was very much like the entity that, with the way she saw it, I think was the true form, and the dad was just catching like the just like the shadow form of the shadow, if that makes sense. So when you hear it and you see it, you're actually seeing and hearing the actual level. It's like different levels, and I think that when you have the eye, that is something that you see, and a lot of times others don't see. Now, there's another one that comes to mind. A friend of mine who worked in a warehouse in California saw this entity, and it was kind of like what you were describing as like this hunched over, weird thing that would, but other people would just see a blob, whereas he could see it clearly. He saw that blob as a hunched over entity that had this big thing on its back, which he said it could remove it. It was like a backpack type thing, and he would see it digging around in it, and then it would kind of slide around like a snake, like it would turn into like a tubular type thing, and then it would reappear in other places. But his coworkers were seeing it, but they all saw something that just looked like a blob, or they would see like a snake-like entity. They didn't see the little gremlin looking, well, I'd say gremlin, I'd say goblin looking creature that he saw. So that's interesting that when you hear those chains, because that's one of the quintessential hauntings. You hear the chains rattling around or whatever. And so there's different reasons for those chain sounds. So let's do this. We're going to move on to your encounter. That was a very creepy one, and if that's one of the first memories,
I got others too, man. I got other ones that's just the first encounter I've ever had paranormally in my life.
So, well, it's not that I like it. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm glad that scared the hell out of you.
Glad that happened to you.
Good thing that happened to you. Bring it on the show so we can show the world, No, but I'm going to do this. Go ahead and bring on our friend. So I got somebody I'm going to bring on so you can tell this particular encounter. And folks, this is a really interesting encounter, and it's part of the title. And so we're going to bring on somebody to sit in with us on this one. And go ahead and send him the link to that if he can. Let's see if he'll jump on. So basically, in a nutshell, like I said, I got to you late in the day, and I'd already gone through two people that gave me their stories, whatever. And I was like, man, we got to get this guy to tell your encounter. Now, let me go ahead and bring on a good dear friend of mine here. What's going on, Ken? How you doing?
Hey, brother. Good to see you.
Yeah. So I have a guy here that, and you can tell him the what you told me, Creed, earlier today.
Okay. So you want me start from the beginning? I mean, kind of work my way into it,
and tell me how you reached out to Ken, and Ken was too busy for you. He's like, get away from me, peasant.
Be gone.
So,
hey,
about
Creed.
10 years ago, can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you good.
sound good.
So about 10 years ago, man, we went down to Florida, and my family, we go to Florida all the time. I'm from Michigan. Florida is a Michigan vacation thing. You from Michigan, you going to Florida on the summer or something. My grandparents lived in Newport Richey, which is on the Gulf side. So, Florida is very beautiful for me. It's got a dear place in my heart. So we'd always go down to vacation down there. And one time we choose to go to Jacksonville just for fun. I believe it was my brother, my sister, me, my mom, a niece, two nephews, an ex of mine, and my brother's ex or something like that. So not that matters. That's just a background,
Mhm.
So it's at a Jacksonville at a La Quinta, right? We're in the parking lot, and it's about 10 p.m. It's me and my ex, my girl at the time. We were, just kind of smoking cigars and kind of chilling in the parking lot as you would on vacation type of thing, right? We're done. We're going inside. We go walk inside. As we're walking, we're probably about 30, 40 feet, maybe 50 feet from the door, not far, in between the cars and the door. From my peripherals, my top peripherals, I see something, top of my head. It gets closer, no noise. As soon as it gets top of my head, it makes a noise, and I'll explain later. I'll get into that. It makes a noise. I got to duck. I got to duck down and put my hands up. I had to put my hands up real quick. I instinctively, you would too. Some gonna hit you in the head. What you gonna do? You can duck. I duck and I'm trying to look up and look at it. The girl I was with, she's real convincing me. Like, no, it's a big bird, and I'm second guessing myself because I kind of seen it. My eyes seen it before my brain could react to it. But I when it was away, I was eating those images up a little bit. So I was questioning myself, like, yo, you know what? She might be right. We're in Florida. There's big birds down here. You know
Sure.
what I mean? This
Yeah.
giant birds. We're in Florida. I'm from Michigan. We got little mosquitoes, little bugs, man. So I'm on, let me relax. We on vacation, whatever. Big bird. All right. Go inside. We go in the hotel. Big bird, man. I'm telling everybody, man, big bird outside. Be careful. So we get in the hotel, man. A couple hours go by. At the time, I was a chain smoker. I like to smoke. Go outside. Look, you want to smoke? We lay each other and go smoke. Sure, let's go smoke. Walking to the door. This La Quinta, right? The stairs on the outside of the building. There's cement stairs with, nice little railings, whatever. To get in these stairs, you need a key fob, But you could hop the fence. You could hop the fence to get on the stairs, whatever. To get in the door, you need a key fob. Though it's a steel door or aluminum or what? That's not aluminum, but it's a metal door. Walking to the door. This thing that flew over me first before I tell this thing that flew over me, it made like a parrot noise, like
Hmm.
like something like that, right?
Okay.
So we get to the door.
Hmm.
I'm on the third floor. Get to the door. I'm a young man at the time, 19 or so. Like to show off. I had a little muscle. I ripped that door open for my lady to walk in, gave her room and me room. So I whipped that door wide open. I whipped that door open to go on them stairs to go down, have a cigarette or whatever. Right in front of me, clear as day, arms reach away. What I noticed first was it was naked. It was the complexion of its skin was like something out of a cave or a horror movie, like the Descendant type of thing popped in my head. Like this thing, like a naked naked mole rat complexion, no hair. It's weird looking, man. It looked like a cat with no hair, and I'm looking at it. But so I'm looking at it. It's got a elongated head. It's got pointy ears. It's got a long kind of birdie nose. I didn't see teeth. It had a mouth though. Um, it had wings on his back, but they were laid down his back. It came out like an angel's wings. It wasn't like it right down the middle back, something like out of the X-Men or something, really.
Bat
And
wings, or were they like what did
like Jeepers Creepers, like it was like a shower curtain wing.
they look? Okay, like
If
bat.
that explains anything, it was like bat
Membranous.
wings.
Membranous is like thick
Membranous.
skin, right?
Yeah, membranous. So it had in certain places it had wrinkly skin, extra layers of skin. I'm thinking like it's a predator. It's like a tiger. If it pounces something, it needs that extra layer of skin. It's just in case an animal's gonna get up on his back and try to defend itself. Same thing with tigers and big cats, man. I don't know how the bird world work and all this stuff, but also it had legs kind of like a rear-ended dog. I kind of picture that, but it was blurry. But it was bobbing. It was sitting there bobbing, and it had his nose in the air. And this all happened in a split second. This happened as I ripped the door open. I'm seeing all this. I'm catching all this. I ripped that door open. I scared it. It kind of jumped a little bit. It looked at me. It looked toward me. I don't know if the lights blinded it because there's light in the hotel and it's dark on the stairs.
Right.
It didn't look at me in my face. It looked toward you kind of get blinded. You looking in that area. It's what it was doing. It didn't look at me. It didn't look at my eyes. I looked at its eyes. They were black, and it looked It looked like a person. It looked like a Hollywood makeup, like something crazy. And then I started doing my research. This is 10 years ago. I started certain career I'm in gives me a lot of time to listen to podcasts. When I listen to podcasts, I ran into Wolf onto Dogman Encounters. Then I start watching his podcast, and something clicked on me about he talking about flying vampires, things like that. Brought that memory back. I start researching, type in flying humanoids. I'm a nerd. I know things like that, humanoid creature, this and that. I like things like that, play Skyrim, things like that. Like I know my werewolves and vampires. I know things, man. I'm not, just a guy. I mean, we are just guys, but you get my drift. So then I come across you're on Google, your book. Your flying encounters of flying humanoids.
Encounters with flying humanoids. Yep, that was
The thing on your book,
2013, I think. Yeah.
Where did you get that design, that image on your book? Because that's very similar to what I seen, but there was no holes in the wings, and it wasn't anorexic looking. It was actually pretty thick. He looked like he ate good, whatever he ate. And he looked old though. He looked a little bit older, if anything. It reminded me of that TV show on Netflix, something Mass, where they're on the island. That vampire is manipulating everybody.
Oh, what was that?
Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass.
Yeah, Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass. Reminded me of that. Also reminded me of them little things that were in Narnia that were slapping their staffs. They were like bird witches or something. Gave me that vibe. But he had no beak. He had a regular nose.
Okay. Well,
And when he flew over me, also, and this I want to get back to this. When it flew over me,
yeah.
and I wouldn't, and I thought, I was sitting there questioning myself because I was like, no way, this is real. It flew over me, and this is gonna sound very wild, and I didn't even tell Wolf this. It shook its body a little bit, and I felt like it was mocking me in a weird way. Like it did it on purpose. Like if this thing is, so this I believe is a very old, whatever it was, very old and very smart, because they can stay out the way. If this was a brand new 2-year-old thing, they would be getting caught up all the time. It's not. This thing had intelligence. I don't know if it was a coincidence. It knew I was on the 3rd floor. It's hard to imagine because I made it jump a little bit. Or maybe it could sniff me out and it kind of had to, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know as much. I don't know. You know more than me. I you know, so I don't know. Where did you get that inspiration for that cover though on that book?
Well, that one's actually published through Llewellyn, and they chose the artist. So they had an artist on their staff or someone they work with. And what I can say is that there are a few accounts in that book that are consistent and compelling, like the kind of the smooth head, the big ears, the elongated head, kind of the skin texture you're describing, and the bat-like wings. There's an account from Mexico in 2009, La Junta, which is in the northern part of Mexico. A college student saw something like that on the side of the road, thought it was like a plastic bag at first, then it rose up and it had that kind of look, real elongated head. A guy I interviewed here in San Antonio named Frank Ramirez in 1998 saw one like that on the roof of his mother's house. That was on the west side of San Antonio. I've gotten to interview him several times. There was an account from Maryland, I think from the 70s or 80s, and one recently from Pennsylvania, a guy driving down the road. So that archetype of those kinds of features, and a lot of people do like refer to Jeepers Creepers or like some horror movie because it looks like something out of a horror movie, you know, like a really great special effect. But
like,
it's these things.
Like you seen that Tusk movie? It's like a mad human experiment or something. Like because it looked so human, but it had other features about it. It's like obviously it's something. You know what I mean? It's something. It's not just human, but it definitely was human-like, which was the crazy part. That's why I got that feeling. It's like gave me like vampire vibes, man.
Yeah, that's creepy. Well, thanks for sharing. Yeah, a lot of people have claimed they've seen things like that. And what I can say about the flying humanoid phenomenon in its entirety is that you have obviously the Mothman's the rock star. Everyone has heard of that. The big red eyes and, you know, no head, 6.5 feet tall or whatever. But you do have a lot of different physical descriptions of creatures that either have like bat-like or feathered bird-like wings, but they have humanoid features, right? Arms and human heads, usually like really grotesque looking, like you were saying. Powerful man-like legs. So it's you know, I can't say what they are. I can just say, you know, a lot of people have claimed they've seen them, and I've interviewed a lot of people that seem, you know, very credible, you know, like yourself. That
I forgot to mention this. I don't mean to cut you off. When I was looking at all this, I was kind of stuck, as you know, in shock. When I got myself together, I slammed the door shut with the same arm that I opened it with, my left one, and I slammed it back. Me and her got to running again down the hallway. 3 or 4 steps in, it banged on the door. I don't know if it punched it, kicked it. It did it pretty solid. And it was like a pretty it like you said, pretty powerful. It was. I don't think I could reenact how hard it hit it. It was a pretty loud bang.
Yeah, you told me that it kind of attacked the door afterwards.
It hit the door. Yeah, it hit the door one time. I don't know if it was upset because it was shocked too. I caught it off guard, and it's like it just came to reality. Like, dang, or I don't know, man. I don't, you know what I mean? How intelligent are they? I don't know.
The hyperaggression is something that you can connect to the dogman phenomenon. So I think I've told Wolf this before, but I've interviewed tons of dogman eyewitnesses, tons of flying humanoid eyewitnesses, and there's a lot of similarities other than the physical descriptions. You got a half man, half wolf, half man, half flying creature. But in terms of the hyper aggression, the way they chase people, attack people, the types of locations they're seen at, and then also just like the trauma that people experience once they've encountered these things. And, I can't say what, and also the attached residual stuff, which I'm sure you guys talk about on this show a lot, which is people that have had these experiences. Oftentimes they'll start experiencing other things like hauntings and UFOs and all kinds of, it looks like it opens up a crazy can of worms for the unexplained,
Right.
Yeah. The only thing, like, because I know that you said you startled it and it startled you.
Yeah.
And now
We caught
I
each
know,
other off guard. But I believe I was more startled because this thing was watching us. It was watching us.
I could tell you this, and I know Ken, I can speak for him because I know him very well, and he'd agree with me. The only thing you did wrong was you didn't go out and whoop its ass. That's the only thing you did wrong. I mean, me, Anthony, would you would have, right, Anthony? You'd throw some kicks at it.
Yeah.
Or something.
No, of course.
Right, Ken? You should have just slapped it. Get out.
Well, you'd have to put on like your Wolverine costume or whatever and have some kind of weapons or like superpowers if you were going to.
Yeah.
I would have thrown some Dragon Ball Z energy balls at it.
I don't know what I would have done. Honestly, being serious,
I would have gone Super Saiyan.
Scared the hell out of me if I would have saw something like that.
Did you experience trauma, or have you experienced trauma from this particular experience? I mean, it sounds pretty scary. I think most people would be like freaked out.
I kind of let it go, and for a long time it wasn't something I thought about, and I kind of had it like in the back of my head, and it wasn't something I even remembered until recently, about a year ago, and it opened that door, and ever since that door has been open, I've kind of been looking up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I go to work early in the morning. It's dark. We work in weird lots downtown, but it's very secluded. And yeah, kind of that trauma kind of comes back when I'm by myself in the dark. And we got a tall building. It's just, I don't know. It gives me, that feeling, so it is a little trauma. It did trauma when it came back, it is a little traumatizing. Just knowing that's out there and other things. Cause Bigfoot, I wasn't really a strong believer. And this whole time I've seen something. And it's like, I didn't even want to remember it. But now that it came back, it's like it's a fascination now, man. I'm kind of like I'm addicted to the research and I wish I had the resources and things. I would go out and monster hunt, And I know what you say plenty of times. I don't suggest going to look for the dog, man. This and that. Me neither. But it's just so fascinating. You know what I mean? It's hard not to. It's curiosity kills the cat, man.
Yeah, I went out there the other night to an area of habitation where people have seen Bigfoot and Dogman, not exactly in the same spots, but in like on one side and then Bigfoot on the other. And it is unnerving. You're out there at night and you see. I
don't mean to cut you off. I want to go back to that hotel and talk to the hotel. Like, hey, do you have? I doubt they do camera footage 10 years ago. I wish I had it. That next morning, hey, check these cameras. I wasn't thinking like that. I was young and dumb, really. Wow. I want to go back and see if they'll let me interview employees that've been there longer than 10 years and if they've ever seen anything or heard anything.
What we could do. What city was that in again? What exactly?
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
Okay. Went to.
I'll go on my files and see if I have anything on flying humanoids in Jacksonville. I mean, it's worth a shot, right, Anthony? We can look. We have hundreds of reports.
Well, I actually have a report. There was a guy named John Whittet who got in touch with me. He lives in Jacksonville, and I'd have to check the year. It might have been around that time or a little bit before that, but he claims he and his son heard something land on their roof that sounded like a giant bat. That's what he described. Like they could hear the wings flapping, and they were too freaked out to go out and look at it. So, but that, that's kind of an interesting connection there as far as that location.
Yeah. And Jacksonville's weird. It's the oldest city in the United States. So, it was founded by the Spaniards so long ago. I mean, it was like in the 1500s or something. It is literally the oldest European settlement. I mean, of course, there's other cities that were there like Cahokia, but That is a very old place. And one of the things I talked to Linda about, and of course she was a dear friend of mine and Ken's, but Linda Godfrey had said something. There is something to be said about people seeing these beings and creatures in these really older civilizations, older cities. They tend to have more encounters. Flying humanoids, though, is something that's so creepy because now you had said something to me about two things. It had this elongated skull,
Yo,
right? And now a lot of people associate that with the
Pornhub.
Peruvian skulls, the mummies, and all that. But when they've done research on these beings that have these elongated skulls, they have these really thick, like they're double sided, weird, almost like enamel for bone, but it's also thin, which is weird because your bone would be stronger, but it would be thinner. So it's almost like they were made to fly, like you know how birds have hollow,
Yep.
yeah. So it is a weird thing. I mean, it is a very weird thing.
it was dude, it was sniffing the air when it was bobbing. That's it was the craziest thing. It's like I don't know. I'm sorry. It's coming back to me. It's like, dude, I'm sorry. Like the weird, and they had like a little smirk on it, like its mouth was closed, but it had like a little smile. I don't know if it's like concentrating on the smell, but it had like a little like it was sniffing something in the air, and it had like a little smile on his face. Like I don't know what it was sniffing. It was smelling the Cubanos down the street. I don't know what was going on, but it was sniffing something it liked. You know what I mean? It was weird, dude. I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because I think, you know, we've heard of Dogman sightings with the same thing, where it's like smirking in the window at them. You know, it's got like a diabolical look on his face. A lot of people describe that. And there's a flying humanoid witness from Canada who saw something called the Ottawa Angel land, and I think that was in 2013, September 2013. He said this giant flying humanoid creature, as he drove by it, kind of looked at him with this kind of condescending air of superiority, like I'm, you know, godlike and you're just a puny mortal kind of thing. And that was the sense that he got. So it's interesting that you say that these things have funny facial expressions sometimes, kind of.
Hey, there's sea turtles that live like 500 years old. Imagine how long these things been around. These things can be you know what I mean, have some very intelligence.
Yeah, who know? I don't know what they are, but you know, people are experiencing something.
So I made a mistake. It's St. Augustine, Florida. That's weird because I remember it being Jacksonville, but
well,
I just
they're right next to each other, right?
Yeah.
St. Augustine, I think, is like right below it or
very,
something.
very close. Yeah. And I think that St. Augustine and Jacksonville were almost like the same, but the continuously inhabited oldest civilization or city is St. Augustine. So
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, but Jacksonville is kind of an offshoot of that. Well, Ken, if you got to run, I understand. I'm going to let you run. Do you have anything else you want to add, Ken, before you head out?
Yeah, I guess this is a great opportunity to announce that I've got a new book coming out soon called The Essential Guide to Mothman and Other Flying Humanoids.
Oh, there you go.
So if people want to check out lots of accounts from all over the place, yeah, that'll be coming up here in a couple months.
All right, that'll be awesome. That'll be right around the time that I'm going to be releasing the vampire book. So
yes, congratulations on that. Sounds cool.
And that vampire book is going to have a lot of weird flying things in it too that we don't know what the hell they are, but we're like, hey, seems like it could be a vampire. You know, there's a lot of weird stuff out there. And also, are you still doing the classes, the cryptid?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm conducting online cryptozoology classes, a course. I had so much going on, man, but you know how it is. But yeah, hit me up on Patreon, Exploring Cryptozoology on Patreon, or my website, kengerhard.com.
Yeah, and then you have a channel, but I don't know if you use it much. I don't know. Not really. Is that a Basilosaurus behind you? What is that behind you?
Oh, this guy up here?
Yeah. What is
that? Very good. That's A+, Mr. Turner. That's a Basilosaur. It's actually Cadborosaurus, which is
Cadborosaurus, yeah.
But as a Basilosaur. So it's kind of a.
And Cadborosaurus, a lot of people think that is one of the creatures that is in some of these inland lakes, is a Cadborosaurus.
Yeah.
Only for the reason that they could breathe fresh air, like they would be able to, and don't necessarily have to be in salt water.
That's true.
But
And whales can hold their breath for 4 hours, Wolf. That's
very
that's
interesting.
impressive.
Yeah. So yeah, me and Ken have had lots of conversations. I like the way you got it set up there. I was there one day when you were setting it up, and now it's all set up now. That's pretty cool.
Thank you, brother.
And another quick
bunker.
thing. Yeah, I'm glad you got it going. Anne Celine, who is your significant person in your life, but she's going to be doing our blog coming up pretty soon for our a website. And that's going to be a weekly blog, keeping you up to date with what's going on with Paranormal Roundtable. And we lost Creed. You want to resend him the link?
Yeah.
And so that's going to happen around the same time that we do when the merch is connected to Seven Clays. So that's cool. And we're trying to get Ken to do a mock-up of a shirt so you can go to our store and get you a nice Ken Gerhard shirt. I want something with your facsimile on there, like of your autograph. It would be really cool with you with the hat and the. But that's up to you. You decide how you want to do it. But it's an iconic
People are going to think
image.
it's Clint Black. I mean,
well, Clint Black's cool too.
Hey, you look like Clint Black. I'm like, who? I don't roll like that.
Well, you know what? You and Lyle both have that iconic look, but Lyle has the mustache, so that's separate. The way he does his is different than you do yours.
Fu Manchu.
So. Yeah, he does that kind of. So, all right, Ken. Well, I'm going to let you run, man. It was good seeing you, and I'll talk to you again, man. We talk all the time. So
sounds good. All right, everyone out there, take care. Have fun. Right. Good night.
See ya.
Bye.
So Ken Gerhard, a very dear friend of mine. I don't know what happened to Creed. Hopefully the flying cryptid didn't get him. We sent him the link. He has to try to get back on. So people are asking how to join the membership. Now the PRT, the Patreon is different than the membership. There he is. Creed's getting back on. That's weird how he just and it just did some weird glitchy thing there. And it's interesting what let me go ahead and get him back on here. There you are, Creed. Are you there?
Yo, you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. So I thought it would be a good idea, since you had told me that you had tried to get in touch with Ken and you wanted to know about the image on his book. So I thought, why not bring Ken on while you're telling the encounter? So yeah, and that's,
right.
Good.
Yeah, where he said he got that the inspiration for that? It was an eyewitness or something.
It was Llewellyn, and it was the publisher. It was the publishing company, and I think that they just came up with the image. They have somebody that draws it or whatever. It's a very creepy image, though. That is a weird looking.
It's very similar to what I seen. Mm-hmm. Very similar.
You know what's even more similar is, like, Ken didn't choose that image, but you know what's weird is that is something that does show up. It actually shows up in the different encounters that people have, is something that looks very similar to that, with that bald head, that elongated skull. And so here's the creepy thing for me. I don't know that I've ever, I know for a fact that I haven't seen one and I can positively identify it, but I have been in places where I've heard things in trees. And I've seen, like, not seen, but like heard things flying overhead. In fact, you and I, Anthony, were working security. Do you remember that one? There was a parking garage we did when they were building this place, and it was out on the edge of town in South Austin. And we heard something really large, and it sounded like it was flat. And then we heard something take off, but we never saw what it was. Mm-hmm. It was like pitch black outside, and it was you, me, and Zane.
Yeah.
And Zane heard it first. That's my brother's son. That's my nephew. And we were all like, what in the hell is that? And so about 2 weeks into that site, we had a person who they've since passed away. But you remember Oscar?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was either him or his son, one of them, that had claimed to have seen something weird flying around the top of that garage in that area. So they do. It's funny that Ken brought up the guy who claimed to have seen, or not seen, but heard something bat-like land on the roof, because there'll be a flap and people will see and hear something that'll be around for a little while, then it'll go away, then it'll come back. And I personally am of the opinion that these beings, thank you for that donation, Alan. I think that they are subnatured beings, and I don't think that they're fully physical. I think some of them are and some of them aren't, but it depends on what level of physicality. And I am of the opinion that there is an entire, yeah. So Scorpion said it was his son. Okay, so that they come from the inner earth. And it was interesting that Ken said that when people will see, they'll have these encounters, and it's traumatic, obviously, but they'll have other things that'll happen. They'll have all kinds of other weird paranormal activity that will go along with these encounters. And I've heard that so many times from so many people who've researched this, authors, experiencers, researchers, and other YouTubers, podcasters. They all say the same thing. Like, there's something that happens to the witness. Now, some of them don't want to accept that. They want to just cherry pick and say, we're going to go with this story here. We're not going to talk about this part of it, whatever. But yeah, it's interesting that Ken did point that out, and that's not really his wheelhouse, but he's being honest. That is something, and he has done a lot of research on Dogman. And Ken, and it was the one that helped me with the Dogman book. He did a ton of interviewing with me. And so yeah, that really opened his eyes to a whole nother world. And I told him before we embarked on that, I said, look, this is going to open your eyes to a whole plethora of stuff. And he interviewed a ton of witnesses. I just gave him witness after witness after witness to interview. And the same thing happened when we were on the show. What was that show called? These Woods Are Haunted. I told those guys too. I gave them a bunch of witnesses, and I said, "Look, it's some freaky stuff. Pick who you want. I mean, but whatever. But there's a bunch of people who I've interviewed, and most recently there was somebody who reached out to me from, what is the name of that show? I didn't even get back with that guy. Holy crap! He got invited to go on his show, and I didn't even. I forgot all about it until just now. There's a guy who's got a show, and I can't remember what it was. And I was supposed to get back with him, and I just didn't. Well, that's great. But anyways, I sound like a flake now. But anyway, I gave him a couple people, witnesses, and it was startling to them what these people have encountered and seen and heard. And I told him, I said, dude, I deal with this all day long. And I'm one of the people in this field that's willing to listen to anybody's encounter about anything that's strange and unusual. It doesn't have to be Bigfoot, Dogman, ghosts, or aliens, whatever. I listen to all of it. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people, that's just not their wheelhouse. They want to be in a certain niche, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I when you start talking, like, you are one of those people, Creed, who, and I talked to two out of the three people today that I interviewed, that's happened.
Man, I've got a lot of things. Yeah, mm-hmm. Spiritually, I don't know, but I just, like, things always happen, like, mm-hmm. around me and stuff. And I talked to. It's gonna sound crazy. You talk to God, right? Mm-hmm. I've talked to God one time, man. I was sleeping, not sleeping. I went to bed. I was in a dark place in my life. I asked him. I was like, and I was starting to lose my faith. I asked him. I kind of questioned him in a way. I was like, if you're real, and I was saying this in my head. I remember this. If you're real, show me you're real. I'm losing my mind out here. I'm losing my faith. I need to see something. Show me something. That's kind of the gist of what I said. And he gave me a series of dreams. And basically with all those dreams came true into my life.
Wow.
Some were good, some were good, some weren't good. I've had an experience where one of my cousins, and I haven't even told his mother this. This is my aunt. I ain't even told his brother. And then I used to do construction with my cousins. It was a family owned thing. And there's two cousins, two of my cousins, a big brother, little brother. They're both older than me. I had an image come across me, like that's So Raven, that TV show.
Mm-hmm.
I had like a little something hit me
Like
like
on
that,
Disney or something.
like
Yeah.
a vision. Yeah, I had like a vision. I was driving down the road, but I was sitting in the passenger. He's driving, my cousin. We're just leaving the job site. Going back to our, back to town where we're coming from. I seen how he would die, and it was in a car, and I wasn't sure, and I didn't know if he was drinking and driving. I was like, hey, cuz, just kind of got into it. I was like, yo, I didn't know how to break it down to him. I told him, I told him basically what I seen. I was like, so don't be drinking, don't be driving and nothing like that. He kind of scoffed about it, and he was like, man, if I die, when you get to heaven, I'm gonna whoop your ass. And I remember he said that, and sure enough, he died in a car wreck. And the coincidental part of the car wreck he died in, it was a head-on collision on the highway with the person who did the head-on with him. They were actually graduated with each other from the same high school. So it's kind of weird how things like that work.
Right after we got off the
and
phone.
you know what else is more coincidental? I worked third shift, and this happened at night. And as I was going into work, my job at the time, it was Prison and Clave, from Grand Rapids, Prison and Clave's downtown. It's not too far from the highway. I heard the collision. I didn't know it was that though. I worked my shift, went home, lay in the bed. My mom come in my room. It's morning time. I was get out of work. She crying. She talking about my cousin passed, and she told me what happened. And then a couple days later, I kind of put two and two together. That loud bang I heard was my cousin's car crash.
Oh wow!
And there's other things from those dreams that I can say that happened, but I don't know if you want to waste the time on. We don't have to. I mean, I got a lot of stories.
Don't waste the time. I want to tell you something though, Creed. You're talking about some people being right after, and I don't know if I told you this, Andy. I know I told Nelly. But right after we got off the phone, Creed, I went through Facebook and I saw my cousin's husband, Richard, was involved in an accident. He fortunately got clear of it, but I think it was a fatality, and it was right there on 35 coming back from work today. And he had just posted it on Facebook, and I was like, praise God above that he didn't.
Yeah.
Because we're pretty close with them. They live on the ranch right behind us, and Paige is his wife, and she was just like, thank God. And he showed pictures of the vehicles that were involved, and it was pretty bad. So right after we talked, that happened. I saw that.
It's so crazy because she got on the highway the wrong way, like 7 exits down, and she had to get through an S curve to even make it to where they collided at. So it's like, how some things are meant to be, even though they're not so good, but God has a plan for everybody,
Yep, that's right. So
and we all got
go ahead
time
and get into this. You also told me about your
the angel.
Yeah, you had an angel and demon experience.
Yep.
Oh, let's. You want to talk about those things?
Yeah. So that's not a real long story.
Doesn't matter.
I can. So basically, I'm working third. It's the same job as at Prison and Clay. So working third. I didn't go to sleep. I hanged out with my buddies, and I basically pulled 24 hour, stayed awake. After I was hanging out with my friends and stuff, I'm going home, and it's like 10 o'clock. It's late. We just moved out to where we were over by I don't want to say it, south of GR, about 30 minutes. We moved out that way.
Yeah,
and
don't
I wasn't familiar.
Yeah,
I wasn't familiar with that area yet. I don't live out there anymore. I moved back in here. But besides that, this is my folks' house. But I didn't know the area, so I got lost, and I ended up in a certain area. And these are I ended up in some rural roads. I knew taking a certain road would get me in that area. Like I don't want to say it's to give it away. It would get me there, but somewhere along I took a wrong turn, got lost, Pull out my GPS. I got no service, no bars. I always kept a cheap carrier, cheap phone and stuff. Still do. So I have no GPS, nothing. I'm fighting. I'm fighting, man. I'm trying not to fall asleep. And in the corner of my eye, I see something looking at me from my floorboard. And it's dark. It's dark outside. There's a couple street lights every so often. It's country. Real well wooded area too. So pretty dark. I see someone from my floorboards. It's looking at me, and I'm getting. And before I seen it, I'm getting this weird feeling. This feeling that I always feel. It's a gut feeling. People who experience things, they know what I'm talking about. You get this feeling. It's with you. Something's there. You feel it. It's a weird feeling. You know, and you know. And so I see it, and it's looking at me. And every time I would look at the floorboard, it wouldn't be there. I could only see it in the corner of my eye. I could look. If I move my head, it would disappear. But I could kind of look in the corner and kind of make it out. But it was very dark. But it was grinning at me. It was grinning at me, and I could only see the face of it. Couldn't see nothing else. I could only see like an oval face of it. It was grinning at me, and it looked very diabolical. It wasn't something friendly. It was diabolical looking. It was black. It was black, and it had like eyes. That's all I could really tell. It was just dark. And it was grinning, and it was weird and not friendly. And so I'm freaking out, and I'm driving down the road, and something appears in the back seat of my car, and it's bright, and it's not giving light off. No lights are coming off of it, but the thing was bright, and I could see it. Before I know it, I'm bobbing it, going through all this. Before this, I was like, I'm fighting my sleep, and I'm really tired. I'm fighting it. Next thing I know, fingers go over my eyelids. And I feel the fingers go over my eyelids, and they were gentle. It put me to sleep. It made me sleep. Something made me go to bed. I was awake, but I was asleep. Sorry to explain. I was awake, but I was asleep. I could hear everything, and I could, I heard everything. So basically, what happened was, my car shot off a hill, the road turned, and I hear a bunch of metal crunching and crashing, and it's just chaos. I can't explain it. It's like a tornado. It's loud metal crunch. It's chaos. I can feel my arms getting. Every time I flip, I felt my arms getting tossed in the air because of the gravity, and they would get swung right back down, like whoop, whoop, like just. My car was getting bounced. I was bouncing and rolling down this hill, and I just remember in my head just saying, "Please, Lord, I'm not ready. Don't let me die. Don't let me die." I just remember saying that, and everything stopped, and it felt like darkness. It was dark, and I thought I had died. I wasn't awake, but I was awake. I was just there. Then I smelled smoke, and it woke me up. My car was upside down against a tree. I don't know, for some reason in my head, I thought I was up in a tree, like the Jurassic Park scene. That's the feeling I have. I'm like, yo, I'm in a tree right now, like, because I was really confused, So I'm panicking a little bit. Car's smoking. It's upside down. The seatbelt is around my knees. It's around my knees. As I'm working to move my body so I can kind of move up out of the car's crushed and flat. I didn't see how I was getting out. I tried to open my door. It wouldn't open. It was up against a tree. And then when I started looking around, see how I could get out, the thing that was in the back seat was still there, but it was sitting in the chair, like gravity didn't affect it. And that part of the area wasn't crushed. Neither was mine. It had like a little socket of the car where it wasn't bent all the way down. Like the rest of the car looked like a Lamborghini. I had a Buick LaCrosse at the time. But it was sitting there, and I started kicking the door and trying to get out. I'm freaking out. I'm panicking. Later on, I realized, that thing didn't mean no harm, but I'm freaking out. I don't know what it is. Part of the sunroof was kind of bent, so I crawled out the sunroof. I get to running down this road. It's a swervy country road, man. Something's running alongside me. Something's running alongside me in the woods. It's running with me. I'm thinking, there's no way it's deer. Deer run away. It wasn't deer. It wasn't a dog. Dog would have ran up to me. It was stayed in the woods, and it ran with me all the way. I ran all the way back to a gas station.
Hey, Creed, real quick, if you want to, you can turn your camera off. You don't have to have
All right, got you.
camera on. If you want to, just turn it off. The other way, you don't have to. Because I couldn't tell. That was your
For
face.
some reason my audio is real quiet, and I got to put the phone up to my ear because I'm on the web browser, and some reason my phone just turned off. That's why I disconnected.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't have to have it on if you don't want. If you don't want to show your face, that's perfectly fine. So,
but yeah, they pulled my car out. The cop who inspected the crime scene and everything like that, he was like, he thought he was gonna come up on a dead body. He said he was looking for my body. He said he thought that my body flipped out the car. He was like, no way somebody could survive something like this. He said he comes across stuff that's not as bad as what he's seen in my car, and I have photos I can send you later. He said people are dead.
yeah, it's not hard to do, especially when I've seen a couple of accidents where I thought for sure everybody was gone, and then it turned out that they were all okay. And it's definitely, it seems like divine intervention.
For whatever reason, I had to go to sleep. That's the feeling. That's what I got out of that. For whatever reason, I had to go through that.
And the creature that you saw too, now, it doesn't always necessarily mean, but I do believe what these things do. There's two things going on. One, I'm going to tell you, if there is something that stalks you or follows you, when you die, they will take you to if it's a small imp-like creature, it could be something that will grab your. I'm not even joking, and they will take you somewhere. And you'll go into a version of the abyss or a hell-like realm where something can take energy and use you as a battery and torture you. Sounds very terrible, because it is, and that's what these short little things do. These duende monitos, whatever they are, and that's something that I've come up with over the years because I've heard so many stories from people who've been grabbed and snatched up by something, and then God or Christ or an angel will come in and intervene and save them from these beings. It's not necessarily you're going to hell. The hell is a different deal altogether. That's the finality, these are hell realm. You could call them hell realms or like the abyss, and you could end up in a place like that. The best thing is that you don't want something like that trolls you, because that's what they're there for. And then when something bad is about to happen negatively, people will see them.
It's like they're all spawns of the devil, man. It's like he got a lot of spawns out here, man. A lot of different forms.
Yeah, they'll show up knowing that something bad is going to happen. Yep. And I think it speaks to their ability to step in and out of time.
And is that so hard to believe? Because there's crows that do the same thing. Crows do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
crows know stuff. They're that psychic energy and stuff.
Yeah. Ravens are like an even more advanced form of crow, and they live way longer lives. I think the crow's lifespan is 4 years.
Okay, so I didn't
know.
The
ravens is like 20. Look it up, Anthony. I don't know. Maybe we can. I thought I saw it. I was reading about it a long time ago. I had a book about birds, and it was about their intelligence level, because I like animals, and I wanted a raven. I wanted one as a pet, so I could teach it things and then make it my friend or whatever. Because when I was little, I didn't have a lot of. When I lived out in the country, I didn't have a lot of friends, and I wanted a monkey. I wanted a little monkey, like a Curious George type buddy to hang out with. And I had a couple dogs and cats, but I didn't have any.
So crows typically live 7 to 8 years.
7 to 8 years. Is that in captivity or out in the wild? Doesn't say.
It says most crow species live. Doesn't captive lifespan in captivity? Crows can live significantly longer, exceeding 20 years.
Wow. And the raven?
And the wild, 10 to 15 years.
Wow.
Like crows, ravens can live longer in captivity.
Up to 20
records
years.
Are less commonly documented. But
yeah. So these animals are very long lived. I had read something about that ravens usually they don't live more than 4 or 5 years, and that 4 years was the average. But who knows with the Mandela effect, and if maybe I read it wrong, I don't know. But I know that they can live a lot longer than a lot of other animals because of their intelligence. They figure things out. You know, and you have all these different types of animals that I believe were seeded here. They're not from here. Look at the octopus and the squid, the cuttlefish. Those aren't from here.
Mm-hmm.
Those are cephalopods and arthrocephalopods. They're a different species. Fungi. You know, we were talking about that earlier today, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Fungi, and you start to look at them. They're not from here either. These beings. The world is such a weird place. Now, this thing that was sitting in that vehicle with you, I'm willing to bet anything that thing was waiting for you to die.
I know.
Yeah, and it was just sitting there going like, okay, when I'm ready, I'm going to take you to whoever's the boss, whoever it's working for, and it's going to take you and put you in wherever so I can use you. You know, and so that's not a good thing. But God had other plans, obviously, that thwarted it, and I think it speaks to the way that these things can move in and out of time and space, and also to alternate realities where in another reality you did pass away. And there is this other thing. I have a theory about it, the soul matrix. The reason I believe in it is because I've seen it. I've seen what looks like this circular, weird matrix. This is going to sound completely weird, but this is what this show is. But do you know those? There's these little like round circular like things with the pills, and they're for women who take contraception.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them, and they pop a pill out, and it's like a circle. That's kind of what that soul matrix looked like. There was this weird jewel-looking thing in the middle. This is what I saw out of my body, and little did I know I was gasping for air. I was actually dying. I didn't know at the time. I'm going to get into it here right now, and I saw this soul matrix, and I was introduced to this alternate version of myself. At least that's what it looked like. And these are these different lives that you've lived in this weird circle, and it's just like it's almost like a spiral, and it just shows you like different versions of yourself, and the one that you're living right now has multiple versions, and they're not infinite like people say, because you don't always exist in every other timeline. I figured that out too.
Right.
And every time you have a close call, one of you dies. But once the
I
final,
think that's like connected to that deja vu stuff.
Oh, it is definitely, yeah. And when the way what I believe, and I wasn't told this, but what I believe is when the final version of you passes, that's it. That's when you're and you know, and so different versions of you can go to different places. It doesn't necessarily mean, and if you have a version of you, but I do believe this: there are some beings that every version is evil. There isn't a good one.
Yeah.
And I do not believe that everybody has a redemption. I believe that there are those that are born beyond redemption. You really are, and there's nothing you can do.
I think that's what the Muslims believe in.
Well, they actually do believe in a different. They don't believe in reincarnation.
Like
None of the Abrahamic faiths believe in it, but that's because there was so much information that was destroyed, and so many books that were burned. And one of my listeners sent me something. And I had talked about this before on here, and they sent me something today, real quick. And this might be of interest to the audience if I can find it quickly without having to go through a bunch of looking. Somebody sent me. Oh man, I get so many messages on that. I'm not. But anyway, they sent me something, and it was about the year 536 AD, and I may have talked about it on the show. And I know what that is because that year the entire earth was turned dark. Crops failed, and it destroyed, like empires fell. Like, things literally came apart because worldwide famine took hold because the temperature of the earth dropped by like 20-something degrees. Oh. And then the sun was it was overcast for an entire year. So there was no sunlight.
How'd that happen?
Well, what we know now is that more than likely there was a volcano that took place over here in the West, either in North or South America. And so the records in the East, I'm talking like Europe, all the way the Middle East, all the way to Far East, those were where the records were kept, where they wrote things down and kept track of it. It happened all through the entire Earth, like the entire Earth, like that. And so what it was is that it was some sort of volcanic, something, and it must have happened here.
The Earth Dragon.
And so then when all of that took place, it literally, there was this upheaval. But of course, the powers that be, they take that advantage and they say, oh, the end of the world is here. And they used it as an opportunity to burn records and destroy and take a firmer grip on everything because people were losing their control.
That's what and they repeat itself.
Yeah. What happens is like the people that are in charge are looked at like, well, you're in charge. What's going on? Why is this happening? And then of course, people that are religious zealots, they're like, well, this wouldn't be happening if our leaders weren't evil. So let's take them out and kill them. So a lot of things happen. If you read about it, just go back and look it up. The year that the earth went dark, right? And it was sort of the beginning of the dark ages, which is weird that it's called the dark ages because we all kind of went in reverse. We should have gone forward because we went from having the aqueducts in Rome and having all of this great civilization and all of this, this plumbing and to basically wiping our butts with leaves. And we went backwards.
Some of that stuff was lost, like Roman concrete. We still don't know how to make it. It just lasted thousands of years.
We don't know because the powers that be, some dickhead destroyed it because they didn't want people having that information because that would make them too powerful. There's a movie, I don't remember, I vaguely remember it. I think it was Denzel Washington where he was trying to get this book of Eli. The book of Eli.
That was a great movie.
Eli? Yeah. Okay, and it was the Bible. And the guy says, with that book, I can control everyone, And because that was it, he was going to use, not Denzel, but the other guy, the dickhead. He was going to use it to manipulate and control the masses, And so that's what they did. And that's why there is so much that's been taken out and so much that's been lost. But Jesus tells us, he says, the kingdom is within you. The kingdom of his Father, of God, is within you. It's not out here in the world. You're not going to find God out there in the world. You find him within you. And all of these people who believe in this very watered down and taken apart and just then regurgitated back out, and that's fine. You want to believe that? You believe that. You go ahead and stop looking because you've already found all the answers. But the answers, that's not where the answers are. The true answers are embedded within us. It's within our DNA. It is us. We are literally the key. And if you were to do, deep rooted meditation upon your own self and meditate upon the mind of God and make a connection to all that is, you'll see, that Jesus was right. The kingdom of his Father is found within all of us human beings. And there is a whole world out there. And I don't care what all these idiots say and do. They can mock me and say that I'm wrong or whatever. In the end, you will all see. I may not be 100% right, but I know that I'm on the right path. Okay. And you suffer for it. You do. You'll be mocked. And like you were saying, about your encounter with this flying creature, and they start making fun of you at work and calling you Dracula. Well, because they can't comprehend, something like that. But go ahead. So let's go forward. You had this wreck, and you lived, and now you said you had an angel encounter.
I believe the angel was in the back seat because I seen it in the court. I seen it in my peripheral. It was sitting there, and then after the car flipped and everything, the smoke woke me up. It was still sitting there. When I turned my head, it was there. It wasn't like the thing down in the floorboard. When I would turn and look at it, it wasn't there. When I turned my head and looked in the back seat, it was sitting there and was looking away from me. Probably because it knew I was going to be a little punk and be scared as I was. And it didn't even move. It just sat there.
And so this was something that sort of counterbalanced.
And it was white. It was all white.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's crazy.
It was bright white. It was the weirdest. like some out of a movie.
And you lived and
Obviously,
since
yeah.
you know that's crazy. So since then, what's happened to you
Um.
since that episode?
So, us an alien ship or UFO, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it.
tell me about that. Tell me about that.
So,
Or tell the audience anyway.
where to begin? I'm going home late night. I don't remember if I was what I was doing, where I was. I think I was coming from my girlfriend's house actually, and I'm coming home. Um, going southbound, going south towards Indiana. Not going to Indiana, just going south. This is gonna play part of the story. There's a bright light on the left side of the high. I'm on the highway. There's a bright light to my left, and I notice, and I'm very observant. It's probably where I catch a lot of things. I'm very observant. I'm just who I am. I'm very on guard. I'm always on it, looking. It's how I am. I'm driving down the highway. I notice this light, and I always like looking at the stars and looking up. Just it's beautiful, especially at late night drives. You by yourself, you got time to think. Those late night drives, are relaxing. I see this light, and I'm like, okay, that's the North Star. I'm like, wait, I'm not going north. So I'm like, okay, it's kind of sticking out from the rest of the stars. I get to my exit, I gotta head east. I start heading east toward where I gotta go. This is a long country road. Not super long. I'm sure y'all in Texas got long ones,
Yeah,
but
well,
this
yeah,
is.
we do. I mean, there's a lot of
I
country roads.
gotta drive on this road 10 minutes before I gotta take a right. So I gotta drive. It's all black, but I'm noticing it's a straight shot. This road's pretty.
Creed, are you there? You kind of we lost connection there.
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
Take your time.
You got me?
I got you.
All right. Put my charger in. All right. So this light, as I get closer, I gotta drive 30 minutes southbound before I exit off the highway. This light is getting a little bit lower, and I don't think nothing of it at the time. I get off my exit. It's a 10-minute drive. It's a straight shot road. This light is lined up with me, straight. So clear view. I can still see it. And what I'm noticing is looking like a.
Oh, we lost him. That's an interesting thing that Machinery posted. I remember that. See if we'll get him back on here. There he is.
Hear me?
There you are. Something
That's
doesn't
a
want
lot
you
better.
telling these stories.
Yeah, man. Heck. All right, so this light is lined up with me. It looks like a iPhone light almost, like, but a large one. It's not like a star. And at the time, I'm not really thinking much of it, but I am peeping it. I'm peeping it. I'm looking at it. I'm like, maybe what the hell is that? A drone or a helicopter? And this was not too long ago. This was, I want to say 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
This is not too long ago. So
22.
yeah, roughly. Um, I'm getting to my where I gotta take a right. There's a lake on my left. And I probably already said too much. Some you people, there's not too many lakes where I'm at. So like there's a lake on my left. I gotta go around the lake to get to my mom and dad house. They moved out here not too long ago. They stay on a little association around the lake, kind of like they got a like a little channel that goes to the lake. They're not on the lake, but it's a little channel that goes to its little community. Little they got the rules and stuff. I don't know what that gated community, but it's not gated. But besides the fact, man, I'm getting to that right to go around the lake and through the trees, and there's other cars with me. Through the trees, I see a disc, like a UFO, traditional UFO. I see lights on it. I I'm hitting the horn and pointing my finger. I'm stopping traffic. There's like 3 or 4 people behind me. I'm hitting the horn. I'm pointing and yelling. I want people to see this. I continue going. I'm like, ain't no way. I'm talking to myself, ain't no way. I'm getting closer. And why am I getting closer to the UFO? I take a left to go over the bridge, to go over to the little channel part, this little that goes to the lake, go to get in the community where I gotta get to, hit a right. I'm looking at it. It's still there. It's sitting there. I'm on my street now. This thing's right above my house. Right above my house. I call my mom. I'm slowing down. I'm calling my mom even before this. I'm freaking out. I call my mom. Mom, come outside. He's a UFO above the house. Mom. She's like, what? Huh? She's busy. She's the, of course, right? She's a blonde too. Why was it, she, she don't come outside. I'm thinking, yeah, we about to, I got somebody gonna see this with me. I'm freaking out. I didn't think to record it, take a picture. This thing, if I were to stand on the roof, I could have knocked on it. I could even threw a rock at it from my car. It's a cul-de-sac we live at. I'm hitting that cul-de-sac, man. I'm freaking out. I didn't want to pull my driveway. I'm thinking, I don't want this thing to know where I live. Obviously, it does, because it stalked me while I was on the highway. I seen the light. It was that freaking UFO, man. That light lowered a little bit. It moved. I straight and lined up with me on my exit. As I, when I got closer, it was lowering basically to my house. When I got in front of on my street, it's right above my house, my mom's house. Excuse me, right above my mother's house. I get to that cul-de-sac to turn around. I ain't want to pull in there because I'm thinking I'm outsmarting it. I'm like, yeah, I don't live there. I turn around the cul-de-sac, that thing's gone. No noise, no nothing.
And it didn't have any sound at all.
No sound, but what I did kind of notice was rotating lights. Mm-hmm. Red, whites.
I'm going to tell you something, folks. I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why.
And it was as big as the house. As big as the house.
Yeah, they're huge. They can be huge too. And why they don't make sound?
Oh, just about that. It's like, I wonder what kind of propulsion system could be silent.
Because okay, you know how there's people, and this could get really deep. I don't want to go too far into this, and so let's go back to it after we're done talking, because I don't want to throw off the guest, but I could get into a whole dissertation on what. Do you remember the Black Pyramid? Mm-hmm. I believe that has a lot to do with where these things, how they get their energy. There's free flow energy. We don't understand that because it's another thing that's been taken from us. Mm-hmm. But that there is infinite energy out there. You generate your own energy anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could just go to the gym and you've burned off a bunch of, it's energy. It's everywhere. It's free flowing. It doesn't have to be, but everybody who's ever came up with free flowing energy has been killed. Everybody. Because the powers that be don't want that. But these UFOs, they just tap into that. And I think those pyramids, the Black Pyramid included, the Denali, they are recharge stations, and they're set up around the world. And the tops of them just create an energy grid that these things can move in and out of, That anyway, I didn't want to go too far into it. I could go to a whole dissertation about that, but that's what my research has uncovered. But what do I know? Anyways, go ahead, Creed. Finish.
That was it, man. It wasn't, it wasn't.
But so you had so you've had that experience, and then you had the experience with the angel and the demon, and then you also had this flying. Do you think there's a connection to these things? I mean, all these things that have happened to you?
I couldn't tell you, man. I feel so. There is. I mean, I've had a lot of more paranormal, like ghostly stuff happen to me. But I think, I'm a real strong believer, man. I think God has a plan for everybody, and certain people are, can handle certain things, and like we know he'll give his warriors certain tasks. Everybody, maybe he wants you to see a certain thing, or you know what I mean. Like I don't know, because there's no accidents and there's no coincidences and nothing, man. Because it's all laid out and planned out already. So you know what I mean. I could sit here and ponder about it, but I have to say,
Pondering the paranormal.
I really don't know, man. You know, so but. Like some people give off bigger energies, and like I don't know. Like my dad, he when I tell him things and he's never seen nothing, and my mom she'll see stuff and tell him, and he's just like he's so naive. He's like I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. So he's basically like, dude, you think I'm like, you basically call me a liar. You calling me a liar and calling my mom a liar. I mean, he's not being offensive about it. It's just like
yeah, I know the
he
feeling.
doesn't have that that kind of connection.
Yeah. My dad has been very. What's crazy about my dad is that he's had his own weird experiences, but he's still. But I think it scares him.
Yeah,
I think it's afraid.
I mean, denial is a coping mechanism for people.
Yeah,
he's a truck driver. He was a truck driver for 15 years, kind of like you truck drive. And my dad saw something very weird one time that looked like an elephant. He told me this. He said, dude, it looked like a freaking elephant with a pink sort of hue to its skin on the side of the road. And he started running, and he was just like, it freaked him out, you know? And he used to work with a guy who swore up and down that he had shot a Bigfoot. And so I don't know. I mean, you know, there's all these weird things that my dad, and I know something happened to my dad in the house that we used to live in. But even then, he'll sit there and be like, "Oh no," you know, because I think it's just the way he copes with it. Some people are terrified of this stuff; they're scared of it. And I mean, I posted a video today on Paranormal Roundtable group, and I posted it on my Facebook. And it was a guy walking around a house with sage saying, "I'm asking you to leave in the name of Jesus." And I'm like, first of all, right there. First of all, you shouldn't use the sage if you're not prepared, because that is an adjutant, right? That doesn't do what you think it does. It's not going to make it leave, okay?
And you probably don't have to ask in the name of Jesus.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You don't ask them in the name of Jesus, okay, folks? If you're dealing with something, you don't ask, okay? You don't. You say, in the name of Jesus, leave. You don't belong here. You're not welcome here. I didn't ask you to come here. And that's the big problem, though, is unless you did. We lost Creed again. But if you did ask it to come there, then you're lying if you say you don't belong here. I didn't ask you to come here.
Yeah.
So trying to get something to leave that you've unlocked, that you've brought to you, that's a problem. And you may have brought it to you in many different ways. There was somebody that was telling me the other day about Ouija board. She was basically just telling us, it was me and Nellie, and she was like, yeah, we use a Ouija board. And also, I'm like, oh man, that is a horrible idea. That is one of the worst things, because that is a medium that just opens up all kinds of it opens a doorway to all kinds of stuff. So Creed, if you can hear me, if you want to come back on, just hop back on. And if you want to just let it be, then we'll just let it be. I don't know what happened. This elbow is just, it's so freaking frustrating. But and another thing too, I wanted to announce on Mondays now. On Mondays, every other Monday, we're going to do the Patreon show, right? So you're going to get, the show's going to start at 7:00 every other Monday, and then we're going to go and do the regular show, but you're going to miss the first hour to hour and a half, because we're doing that just for the Patreon, and it's going to set the tone for. But we're going to do a show every Monday. So if you want to be involved in the whole enchilada, you know, and it's, you know, then join the Patreon. That's how we're going to do that. And then every other Monday, we're just going to do a regular call-in show. So if you want to jump in and call, like you want to call in and jump on, we don't call in. We'll put the link on there and you can jump on. Last time we had 10, 12 people in at any given time. And you can jump on and you can do, you can be a part of the show and talk about what you want to talk about, tell your encounters. So it's basically a call-in show where you just jump on. And here he is, and Creed's back. So you can just do what Creed's doing right here and just have your camera off if you want, or you can show yourself if you want. It's your choice. You don't have to show yourself if you'd like to just be anonymous and just talk. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to use your real name. You can just call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. It'll be open to whoever wants to jump on. We did that a little bit for a while there back on Saturdays, but now we're going to do it every Monday.
Yeah, my bad, man. My phone keeps like turning off. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, because we're talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Could be agitating something that's been, and these things, they don't exist in time the way we do. So, So, Creed, do you have anything else you want to say before we let you run, or what do you want to talk about? Anything else?
I could talk about. Yeah, I got something I could say. And this is at the same house I had the little visions when I kind of talked to God, and I could get in depth with that too. Maybe I shouldn't. I'll talk about. I was on just what I was gonna say. So at the time I was staying in the basement at my mother's house. I had my ex.
Hold on 1 second.
Yep.
What was that? You heard that too, right? Yeah. It was like 3 knocks.
Huh.
There's nobody here. Everybody already left. The last people here.
Flame to my light.
They leave at 10, so I don't. What was
What
was that? We just heard it. I don't know.
Creep me out, man.
Knocking.
We heard
Creep
like
me
3
out
knocks.
over here. Yeah. Because what I'm gonna dive into is kind of similar to 3 knocks. Something that would be related to that. No, I'm not.
Oh, dude, it's not often that I actually get creeped out while talking about this stuff or doing the show.
Sounded just like 3 knocks.
Yeah, I'm kind of creeped out right now.
So the basement. Let me tell you about this basement, man. And this basement, man. This is the different basement. This house is around the corner from. This house was around the corner from my first experience. This is up the street at a different house. You with me on this? Okay. All right. So this is in the same neighborhood, man. This is right around the corner. In the basement. I know. What's up the basements? This basement. So let's just kind of lay of the land for you real quick. There you got the stairs and the carpet was red. It was very weird. It was red carpet, so it gave that kind of eerie effect already. The old owners were dance instructors. They had, after the carpet was like tiles and was a room full of mirrors all the way around, and one pole, like I think it was for support or something. And then they had an old piano, and they left the piano there because they were old. They weren't gonna move the piano. It was probably break. You know how pianos are, and they're expensive to fix. 1 sec. Let me see. Somebody might. No, we're good. Okay. Yeah, I got young kids. I'm in the car right now. I don't know if she needs my help. She's good. But so the bunch of mirrors and stuff downstairs. So it's already creepy, and it always gave me the weird vibes. So I stayed in the back room, past all the mirrors and stuff. It was a little bedroom, and to the back room was the back furnace room. There was another door. And I would always shut this door. I would always shut it. And to shut this door, it'd pop. It'd make a pop. You knew you shut the door. And to open it, you had to lift it and open it. Lift it and pull it. And I would start to notice this door. And my sister lived down here before me. She didn't tell me. She didn't give me a heads up or nothing until we started talking about it together. So I would start to notice this door would start to be open. I'm not going to sleep with this creepy back room. It's dark. I'm not going to sleep with it open. I closed it. I always close it. I started to notice this thing would be open every morning. I started to put my weights there. I put my bench press there. Nothing happened for a while. Until one day it started to move it every night. Something will move my stuff. And to move that, you gotta make noise. It's gonna rattle. And to open that door, it's gonna pop and it's gonna make a noise. I can never imitate to make that that back door to not make a noise. So this one time I had my girlfriend stay over. She had her niece stay over too. I had a good connection with her and her niece. So her niece stayed out on the couch in the living room. She would watch TV and fall asleep out there. That's how usual. I mean, we'd be in the bedroom with the door open. And it wasn't about 30, 20 feet away. She's not far from us. So it's like we know what's going on and everything. But one night she's waking me up. She's panicking, trying to wake me up, and I'm blowing her off. I'm like tired or whatever. And she's like, tired. The piano's playing. The piano's playing. And I wasn't believing her or whatever until I heard it. I was like stunned. I had to get up out the bed. The piano was playing low notes, like don, 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 3 times. Going deeper and deeper, low notes.
And it was
And I
playing
looked at
the
her.
same 3 notes.
I said, you better go get your niece. Cause I'm not playing. I don't play around. I don't like ghosts. I don't like it. I've been dealing with it a long time. I don't like it. It still gives me the heebie-jeebies. I said, you better go get your niece.
Mm-hmm.
She, we didn't really want to. I was like, I insisted. I mean, that piano playing, like, she had to go get her. She ran and got her. I wasn't being a punk about it. I stood out the door. I'm by the piano. The piano's across from the door. I'm waiting for her to come. She screams. She come running screaming. She's got her niece in her hands. She come running screaming. Next thing I know, I hear it on the tile. She comes. Then I hear more feet coming. I hear like as you would if you got out the pool and you're running and your feet are wet and you running on concrete.
Yeah,
That
that's
kind of
slapping
noise.
sound.
And very heavy too. So she coming. I'm like, uh-oh. I'm hearing that. I got the doors ready. They're French doors again. 2 doors. She running. I slammed the doors. I'm running back toward the bed. I dive on the bed. That's what she had. I got a baby Rottweiler at the time. He start growling. Next thing I know, that thing start wham, 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 wham on the doors, shaking the doors, just banging on the doors, like beating the door, like bang, 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 just beating on it. And that was that. And then we stayed in the room all night. Nothing else happened. A couple other incidents happened down there with a couple of me and my buddies, but yeah, I had sleep paralysis down there one time, really nasty, and that's about it. But there was definitely a dark entity down there, and it wasn't friendly.
Yeah. I find it particularly interesting. Well, I mean, that whole story is interesting, creepy, and terrifying. But particularly, what's piquing my interest right now is the fact that when that piano started playing, you said that it would play like 3 notes at a time, right?
Yeah, dark
And
one.
and like, but the notes kept going down, like descending, right? And that's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the way that you kind of like hummed it, it's so there's this thing in music. It's a chord. It's called the triad. It's a 3-note chord, and it was referred to forever as Diabolus in Musica, which means the devil in music. And for the longest time, going back to medieval times, that particular chord, that 3-note chord, it was banned in music because it was seriously believed that triad in particular would invoke like
Summon the devil.
that it would invoke demonic entities.
Okay.
And the devil's referred to as the master of music. But this was a serious belief for a long time, and that chord is like you see it a lot, or you hear it a lot today in like heavy metal music. Black Sabbath was one of the first bands to use it, and then just like a bunch of other bands. But it's something that you can YouTube and learn about, and you can hear it for yourself, and you'll realize like, oh, I've heard this a lot in modern music, especially like Slayer likes to use it. Just different
Yeah, and that Diablos and Musica album.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one song that's very potent. You know, that dun 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 dun. Whereas he's talking about the dropping bombs, or what is it, Fortress of Hell,
Screaming from the Sky. Yeah.
Screaming from the Sky. You know, I used to like that song until I realized how much of that is in there.
Yeah.
That's what that is. I mean, and then it gets you pumped. It gets you ready for war. You know, that's what it does. Drum beats. Folks.
Yeah, that house was creepy, man. I would hear when I was upstairs, be home alone. I would hear people arguing in the vents. Like I couldn't make out what they're saying, but you just hear a bunch of like just people going at it back and forth, and like in the basement in my room down there, which was the creepy thing. And also in that house, my phone might be dying. Oh, there we go. I'm trying to hold it to my charger booty, but there was a little boy upstairs in the hallway. I would a couple times I would go get water or a snack out the fridge, and I open the fridge, and he would be down at the end of the hallway there, and he would be wearing like the old 1920s. I don't know why, but that house wasn't made in the 1920s, but he had like the high socks and the overalls and the golfer's hat on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was the thing trying to manipulate, but one time me and my mom were playing around, like play wrestling, play fighting with each other, and we both heard it clear as day. It was like, where's my mommy?
Oh, that's sad.
Yep.
That is sad. So we've reached the 2 hour and 14-minute mark, and unfortunately, about 11 here, I got to get out of here. Dude, if you want to come back on and if you have anything more you want to talk about, come back on Monday, and jump on and or just jump on and be a part of the live that's open. You know, we're going to do an open mic thing on Monday. If you're not doing anything, definitely come back, Creed. I mean, because you were a good guest.
Yeah.
When I interviewed you and I talked to you, I knew that you were going to be somebody that I could have come on. You were very well spoken and you could talk. We lost him again.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely got some interesting stuff. And I don't think he's even told everything. There was a couple of the things that he had made references to that I didn't get to hear, but that he had. And so I was like, oh yeah, let's have him come on. So sad that Robert didn't get to come, Robert Kreider, and we need to pray for him and hope that things get better for him. That was not good what he was telling me that's going on over there, folks, out west. But yeah. So let me take these out. If you're listening, Creed, I'll talk to you again. If you want to come back on Monday. And if you have anything you want to tell me, or you know how to get in touch with me. So, let's stay in touch. Definitely has a lot of information and a lot of good information and very, very interesting encounters. Thank you to my guests for coming on, for Creed and for Ken Gerhardt coming on. And when Creed had said he had tried to reach out to Ken and give him that story, Ken's is like me. He gets a ton of information. It's always fun to go back and forth with people like him and David Weatherly, Lyle Blackburn, Chad Lewis, all these great authors that have written all these books. I forgot to talk about when Ken was on. I forgot to ask him because it was during the paranormal show, or not show, the conference. What was it we did at the Black Swan?
Oh, yeah. I forgot what they call that.
I forgot what it was called.
Some kind of paranormal convention, something
but
or other.
That was when that couple gave us that story of the Bigfoot that looked. It was down in South Texas where a lot of weird stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
Down in the valley, and they saw this green kind of glowing Bigfoot. They gave that encounter to me and Ken at the same time, and they sent it to him and to me, and they gave us this audio clip. She gave me an audio clip of her telling the entire encounter in its entirety, and I've lost it. I don't know where the hell it's at. I couldn't find it. It probably got dumped with all those emails. It's like the burning of the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
Just think of how many stories we lost. And then, of course, my journal's getting burned. That didn't help either. But my goal is to, before I die, have gathered more encounters than any man in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal. Don't know if I can do anything with all of them. I saw him jump back on for a minute, I guess. Well, anyway, Creed, if you're listening, we'll talk to you on Monday. So he jumped back on, but then he was gone.
Oh, man.
Thank you for that. He's somebody says I'm a master of storytelling. I never really knew that retelling stories was an art, and I never really thought of it as an art.
I mean, if you think about it, storytelling is like probably the first art form.
Yeah, retelling, because the entire tradition of every holy book on earth always began with them telling it by word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly am going to say this, and it may offend some people. I don't care, because the truth is the truth. But every holy book on earth, the oldest holy books on earth, are not the oldest holy books on earth. There were books that preceded them, and there were books that preceded those books all the way back to 2 billion years on this planet. But that's just on this planet. And the world, the universe being what, 12 billion years old? How can you fathom that? And then they found water, which is what they said is 100,000 light years away, which is hard to fathom, but it's real. I believe they say space isn't real. Yes, it is. Okay, but it's maybe not the way you think it is. The Earth is round, but not in the way you think it is. Right. And I'm going to say this, they found enough water it's literally 10,000 times the size of our solar system. That's how much water is there. It's floating around in space. That's in that one area. It's literally just an ocean that is just, it's so vast. You couldn't traverse it in 10,000 lifetimes. It's so vast. And it's unbelievable when you think of these, and then these stars that are way more massive than the sun. And then there's people that go, "Oh, that's all fake. It's not real." Oh, it's real. It's just not the way you think it is. And these beings, they don't have to fly here. They said, well, they can't fly here from Andromeda or Pleiades. They don't have to.
Oh, yeah.
They bend space and time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say to get back to the whole like the question that I asked about like what kind of aircraft can have a propulsion system, and your theory about like there being a grid set up by these black pyramids. Yeah, that makes sense that it would be like a localized grid that's set up here on Earth, because they wouldn't. Like, I don't think that they use those spacecraft for interstellar travel.
No, they can't.
Like, they don't need to go, to use those spacecraft to travel like thousands of light years. That they can just bend the space time and create wormholes and it basically teleport. I mean, that's not what it is, but that's what it would look like.
I get it right here. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, those aircraft are just for planetary travel.
Yeah, you're right. Hello Baby says, I hate vast and massive, makes me feel very small. Joe Breezy, a friend of ours and a colleague who's got Joe Breezy's Speakeasy, him and Monica Rollins, they do the show together on, I think Thursdays is her show and then Fridays is his show. But he has this thing where he has a fear of things that are really large.
Mm-hmm.
And the bloop.
Oh yeah.
He's terrified of it. It's so
that is
massive,
terrifying,
and it makes you feel small and insignificant. And my travels out of body, and no, I've never gone to someone's house and lit their bushes on fire,
and been kicked out by a 50-foot angel.
And a 50-foot angel just gave me the boot up my butt out of somebody's.
Yeah.
Because hey man, don't mess with the Aggies. No, dude, but when you're out of your body, there's so many things that are more important and better to do than to run around and harass people. I'm going to tell you something. If you're one of those people, especially if you're not a person that can do it naturally, you shouldn't be doing it. Okay. If you learn how to remote view and it comes to you like naturally and you do it, fine. But if you're having to really struggle to do it and you're expending a lot of time and energy, then it becomes a form of like idolatry, whatever it is that you're focusing too much on.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in moderation, folks. Everything. Okay. Other than focusing on God, everything else should be in moderation. You shouldn't eat too much meat. You shouldn't eat too many vegetables. You shouldn't drink too much wine. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Going out in the sun and in small little intervals is very healthy for you. But staying out in the sun and baking is deadly. Right? Being trapped, stuck, whatever, in a room in the dark for an hour is actually a good thing. It might help you clear your mind, gain some focus. But staying there for a long period of time is torture. Taking a little bit of something that is poisonous actually helps you become immune to it. But a full dose will kill you. And I'm not trying to be all, poetic or whatever. I'm just telling you, these are the facts. These are the laws of the natural world. These are the laws, the universal laws. So focusing too much on any one thing, whether it's a person, a place, a thing, or a habit is not good. It's not good. And it will lead to very bad consequences. So yeah, everything in moderation. Moderation is the key. And I think that's one of the things that we've lost. We are overindulgent and we expect everything to be like this, microwaves. That's one of the byproducts of our impatience.
Yeah.
We don't cook food. We just zap it real quick. And we're just going to eat a little bit of radiation in this microwave meal. What happens if you microwave food 200 days out of the 365 years, like 200 out of those days? What happens then?
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. Well, I'm listening to some music and it's got the Diablos and Musica in there. I'm only going to listen to one album. So there's 10 songs that have it.
Yeah.
Then a day later, you're listening to another and another and another. See, evil, it doesn't really come at you in a tidal wave. You know what it does? It chips away at you. And the next thing you know, you're completely knee deep in the shit because you're obsessed with whatever the hell it is that you're whatever. You ever heard this? When you're fighting the devil, don't be careful not to become him.
Yeah.
That's what happens to beings, people, whatever. I honestly believe that this is what creates the devils that we deal with. At one time, these beings might have been benevolent and they might have thought that they were the good guys. They thought that they were fighting the good fight, and maybe they were tricked by their peers into fighting this good fight. And it turns out that their peers and themselves are not the good guys. People come to these realizations and they have these aha moments and they're like, oh, crap. And then sometimes pride kicks in and they keep going down that destructive path. I've had to deal with it more times than I can count. Yeah. I've done the Obi-Wan thing too and been like, look, you're beaten, don't, do whatever. Or Vader, I've heard him say it too.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm too proud. And you're like, okay, you cast the die. And then it becomes an infinite, horrible cycle of revenge, because, well, it's all about pride. Don't ever let that get in your way on your journey to the light, because that's going to disrupt you every time. People love to do that, and they'll make an excuse for it. Like, well, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to eat this bad thing, this sugar. And then the next day they eat, and look at all the sugar that's in all of the food that you eat throughout the day. I went almost 2 solid years from late 2005 to middle of 2007 without eating sugar, Like I literally cut it out of my diet. Anthony can attest to that. I don't. My wife could tell you. I don't eat sugar. I'm not a sugar baby. I'm not a giant insect. I don't really crave it. I'm perfectly okay without sugar, and I don't need artificial sweeteners. I hate them. I cannot stand those.
They're even worse.
Super sweet. That stevia makes me sick. It's nauseating. And aspartame is literally a neurotoxin that was created by the Japanese in World War II. Actually, prior to World War II, it was in preparation because they were being prepared. They were like, we want to be like the West, right down to the poison. And so what ends up happening, you go down these horrible, habits, things, whatever. You find yourself monk fruit. I don't know. But you go down these horrible habits, and what you realize is they get you little by little by little. They just kind of reel you in, and then the next thing you know, you're there doing these. So make yourself have good habits that are strong habits. I have a very good habit that I do that makes me very strong, and that is breathing exercises. I did it today. Before my lung infection that I had recently, and I was just getting over it. Up until even last week, I was still feeling it, But I was up to 3.5 minutes of holding my breath. That's an accomplishment. That is no joke, man. In fact, the longest I held my breath, I think it was about 340 something. And then I was just like, I can't, I'm going to die, But dude, I do these breathing exercises and I always go at least 1.5, 2 minutes, sometimes 3 toward the end. You get like these rounds. You do 30. And now if I do the 40 deep breaths, I always use the inhale with the nose and exhale with the mouth, but you don't have to. Just do that. Take a deep breath through your nose and then exhale, and you can feel.
Oh, yeah.
You can feel. You do it 40 times or 30. And if you go with no real pause in between, you do that 30 to 40 times. That's what I do. Just look up the Wim Hof, WIMHOF, 2 words. And but I don't recommend doing the dunking your head after you do all that, dunking your head in water. And they're like, people are blacking out and dying. Well, no shit. I mean,
try to do too much too fast.
No shit, LoJack. What do you think's going to happen? Right? What do these people expect? They're like, well, that person died because if you're sitting there doing all that and then you hold your breath and then you just get out of that, and you're, whatever, and then you stick your head in cold ass water. I mean, yeah, I could see some bad things not going good because common sense has gone out the damn window with everything else. So, just you exercise a little, use some common sense. God gave you common sense. It's a universal thing. You have it or you don't. But there's a lot of people who don't exercise that, and then they want to talk. Don't open your mouth if you don't have common sense. Just be quiet.
Yeah, they end up ruining things for the rest of us.
That's why there's warning labels and every damn thing.
Yeah.
Do not eat this electrical cord.
Darn.
This weapon that fires fast metal in high speeds is not good for babies. No shit. Like we need these things to be told.
Yeah.
Put your kid in the car seat. It's dumb, stupid things. And we got to be told these now. And it's because of people that said, what the computer said. I look up the Google and Google say,
those people breathe through their mouths, by the way.
And their mouths are always open.
Talking about.
I mean, look at Diddy.
Yeah.
Like that dude, just shut your mouth. It just, golly, and you get sick of these people and their freaking nonsense. And then they're allowed to vote and breed and talk and do. And you're like, God dang, man. And they don't think things through, I mean, that's why you get some of the nonsense that comes out on Facebook and YouTube and Idiot Graham and Tac Attack, whatever the shit's called, Tic Tac. And I shouldn't say that because we're now on TikTok, and now I'm being told that I need to be on there and I need to talk. So I'm announcing now, because I have these short stories that people, and I'm going to take the advice of these people. And if I'm not going to say their names unless it doesn't work, then I'm outing you totally. I'm going to blame your ass. Okay. These are actually friends of mine.
But if it works, then I'll take credit for it and never say your name.
Exactly. If it works, then I'm just going to say, thank you. You know who you are, and not really give you credit for it. That's that little bullshit.
Yeah.
No, I will give you credit. Okay, if it works, if it does, I'm a good fair guy when it comes to that. So I was told that I should start doing, and I've been told before, and I thought about this, right? So I'm going to start doing some of these like smaller encounters that people have. Like one of them that I was given today, I can't wait to tell this one, but it's a small one. I'm going to hold on to it. But I read it. But let's just say Nadja, your name is Nadja, Nadja, Nadja. Creepy. You got me on that one because get this, folks. This is kind of funny. I was laying there in bed, and my wife, she had been up all day working on helping the show with the TikTok, or dang it, TikTok. She was doing the TikTok, and she was doing I just said it a minute ago, the Instagram and all. She was doing all that stuff. She was doing all that, whatever. And so I was sitting there, and I was looking at the out the window. Because our for some reason our HVAC unit isn't blowing. I don't know what it's doing. It works and then it doesn't. And now I'm going like, that's great. Yeah. Now we have to pay for this crap. We don't have no money. We're broke. So I'm sitting there and I'm going like, okay, the window is open. And I thought I saw something move. I did. I don't know what it was. And I was like sitting there and we had this. My wife likes to sleep to the ambient noise of snow or rain or whatever the hell is going on. I don't pay attention to it. And so I was like looking at my phone and I was answering and I was getting ready to get on the phone call to do some stuff. And I had work stuff to do first because that's always first. And so I got on there and so I see something move and I was so staring out the window, kind of waiting, to see if something else would happen. And this don't, scare you. I looked down and right there, I don't even know how I did this. Really, truly, I don't know how I did this, but I had opened it up to this email from this woman, Nadja, and she was talking about evil nun looking creature thing wearing a nun habit, looking in the window at her.
Duh.
And so, and so that was, she goes, a friend of mine told me about your story from Belarus, whatever. And that story came up when me and Tyler were talking, or Creed were talking too. So it was a weird little circle of synchronicities, right? And so I was looking at that and I was like, what the hell? And then she tells me that, and the description, I'm not even going to get into right now. It was just creepy as hell. And then I look back, and then so there for like 5 or 10 minutes, not really moving. I'm just looking out the window, just waiting for something to happen. So I keep trying to look away, and I don't want to get up. I'm not afraid. I just didn't want to get up because Nellie was asleep. I don't wake her up.
Yeah.
And so I had to check my blood pressure. I have to do that, right? And so I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and then I hear this noise, and I'm like, "What is that?" So then my heart started pounding. I'm not going to lie, and I'm like, sometimes when you read this stuff or you're dealing with it, stuff will happen. Like stuff will happen. Like it kind of knows. The way David Weatherly described it, he says that there's like an intelligence to it. Yeah. Same thing Christopher Gaetano's talked about. Both of them kind of said the same thing in different words, that there's like this intelligence to this that kind of watches you, And so I'm sitting there and I was actually, so I got a message from, I had just messaged Christopher Jordan, UFO researcher. He's got the Curious Realm. So we were kind of going back and forth. So it kind of got me distracted. And then I hear this kind of weird noise again. And I'm like, so then at that point I go, what is that? So I got up, and I was trying to not pay attention because I just read that story and I didn't want to see something in the window, because I did see something move in the window before that. Okay. Now I can understand it happening afterwards, because in your mind's kind of going like, oh, okay. But before that, like then you read it like right after that. And how did I even push on there? When I was texting with 3 or 4 people, I was texting with Tex and Christopher Jordan, all kind of at the same time. And then all of a sudden there's this, and then I just kind of laid there going like, okay. So then I get up and something runs up against my foot real quick and goes under the bed.
Ugh.
And I was like, what the hell? So then I just said, Elvira, and she came.
Oh, okay.
And she jumped up on my little beanbag thing.
Yeah.
She jumped up on it, and her hair is now over her eyes. The poor thing. She's got those 2 forms.
Yeah.
She's got the I can barely see you form, and then the sleek back form. So then she jumps up onto the bed and runs over to me, and she's out. And I'm like, where were you at? So she's taken to sleeping on that bean. That we have this big, humongous 6-foot beanbag it's made of memory foam.
Mm-hmm.
I love this thing. Unfortunately, I bought it for my wife, but I'm always in it, and she'll grab it, and it's bigger than her, and she'll take it, and she'll evilly, is that even a word? I don't know if that's a word. Evilly, meanly go and take it into the closet to go sit in there, to be on the phone, with her friends or whatever. Well, she's always doing stuff. And so I'm like, okay, that's real cute. Take my beanbag, but it is her beanbag. So I can't really, so I got to order another one. But yeah, I love that thing. But yeah, Elvira got me today, and I said, "What the hell was that?" And then I look over, and even though I yelled, like Nellie didn't even wake up. She had because she was up all day until noon, until she had went to sleep. So by the time she was going to sleep, I was waking up. And so yeah, and so there was this, little bit there where I was completely terrified. But it was just Elvira. Thank God. And so then I went down the stairs, and then she ran out in front of me and nearly tripped me. But yeah, and so she's now at the house. We still have part of our animals out at the ranch because they really do like it out there. But Elvira is so attached to me, Nellie, and Anthony, that she wants to be with us. So we brought her, and we're going to bring Martis and Panzer. And then we're going to leave the other animals out there at the farm. Because Beans and what's his name? Truffles. They're about the same age, and they were raised together. So they're going to be, they're going to stay out there together. And then Baby, who was originally Nellie's dog, is so attached to my brother.
Yeah.
That dog is like an extension of him. And since he's been out there the last week, she's gotten fatter.
Yeah.
I mean, he always makes her fat. I'm like, dude, that dog gets so fat when you take care of her. She's going to, poor little thing's going to have heart disease.
Yeah, she eats well.
But she's a very empathic dog. I love her too. She's a real sweetheart. All of my animals, I have very, very good, close relationship with all. Very special. I love them all. They're very sweet animals. We have a little hamster now. I showed you guys. And he is the coolest little dude. His name is Mellow Jack. And then I'm about to get a lizard. I've always wanted one. They're a little bit of work, but I had a gecko when I was a child. I caught it, and I just, for whatever reason, my mom was like, "You need to not have it in the house." And so and it was sad because I let him go out into the yard, and he kept coming to the back sliding door and trying to come in because he wanted to be. I guess he wanted to be with me, And so he kept on, and I said, "Look, that he wants to be inside with me." And my mom's like, "Oh, it's just because it wants to be warm." I'm like, it was like late spring. What are you talking about? She's like, "Well, I don't know the first thing about taking care of those." We were country people, and we knew about certain types of animals, but not a lizard, not a little lizard. So that'll be the next pet that we get, And so, with the animals, we have 2 places now with the animals. Yeah. But anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And thanks for being a part of the show. Those that donated, thank you for the donations. Thank you for joining and becoming members. Yeah, Christopher Jordan, that's funny that you say that because he actually makes binaural beats. And so I'm actually going to have him make me some. So I'm going to have him do that. But that's to help you sleep, and you can actually tune in to certain frequencies that can help you with a lot of different things. Like if there's certain things that you need in your life, you can vibration, because everything is vibration. And I'm telling you, the powers that be, they took away a lot of knowledge that we had. They have made us stupid. And they give us, it's like if somebody just takes everything from you until you're starving physically, mentally, and spiritually. And then they give you just a little bit of your own, spirituality. And then you're like, oh, thank you. And you're so thankful that they were nice enough to give you back what is really yours. And these people aren't doing anything productive with it. Okay. It's basically a form of communism. I mean, it's a spiritual communism. If these people were taking and we were all contributing and there was some great thing that was going to happen with all of this energy, yeah, but not just to hoard it and then just use it as a weapon against those you took it from, because that's what they're doing. Yeah, they'll blast you into space. Of course they can, because they took your energy to do it. It's like we are literally living batteries and they're using us. We were never meant to be used like that. This is not correct. They create the illness and they sell you the cure, and the cure doesn't really cure you. It just keeps you alive. So you have to do more for yourself, to be a better person, to be a whatever. And I notice the more that we talk about positivity and trying to get to do better and make people healthier, giving them mental, physical, and spiritual, whatever, then we get attacked even more and more viciously. Last night, I know this happened, and I'm not even going to tell you, I'm not even going to mix words here. Me and my wife both were in a spiritual attack last night. 100%. I don't know who sent it. I got my suspicions. But yeah, we were under spiritual attack big time. And it didn't work, just so you know. And just, you keep doing what you're doing, and it's going to keep coming back to you until something really bad happens. You could raise your vibration and do so much more. There are so many more better, bigger, and more important things to do and to focus your energy on than me and PRT. Okay? If you're that person that wants to do something negative. Okay? There's a lot of more important things in life. If you're wanting to learn, you're wanting to hear the encounters, you're wanting to do, yeah, great. Come on, let's go. But if you're just there trying to focus, hoping and hope that something evil and bad is going to happen to us, it could, but it's not going to be because of you. I mean, you don't have that kind of power, and you never will. You forfeited that kind of ability, right, by your very nature of being what you are. You understand? You're spiritually neutered by doing and being what you want. There is a rhythm to the universe, right? And I'll say this, and I'll jump off here. And that rhythm keeps people like you in line. You crave power, so you don't get it. A lot of times when people first come into the power, they're not necessarily evil, but that power corrupts them. You know what I mean? And everybody's like, oh, I can handle it. Sure you can.
Sure, wasn't Nero wildly popular at first?
So was Caligula.
Yeah.
Caligula was beloved because of Germanicus. His dad was a Roman hero.
Mm-hmm.
He was Little Boots. Everybody loved him. But then he had that fever.
Yeah.
The fever that and then after that, when he was healed from the fever, he was a madman.
Yeah.
Now, Conventional thinking, and I'll say this: if you want to hear some history, stick around. If you don't, then leave. But conventional thinking is that the fever warped his mind. But I say this: he had a sickness of his soul, and I think that that fever would have happened to him either way, because he had something dark that was just there waiting, and the fever gave it that. Let's Abe Seas always talks about the spiritual opening.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard other people talking about it recently too, and it's a spiritual opening, and it seized him, and then it took hold, and it just rotted, and it was horrible. After that, he was an awful person. He came back from that fever, and he was like another person. Like, it was almost like night and day. This isn't the young man that was the son of the hero.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't the promising. The dark age of Tiberius was over, and he was so hopeful that they were going to do something. And then after him, of course, there was Claudius, and then, of course, because of Agrippina's deceit, he ended up with little Nero, the fat little punk that he was. Then you had Nero, who was basically, he was the Antichrist,
Mm-hmm.
and it really was. I mean, look at in the Bible, 666, it spells Nero Caesar, because it was written in ancient Greek,
Mm-hmm.
right? John, when he wrote it in the Isle of Patmos. Now, there's some argument that he may not have been John, the actual disciple. It may have been a different John,
Mm-hmm.
and I've said that before, that's very possible, and that the church just said it was John, but it may have been a different person. Mm-hmm. And of course, everybody argues, because Bible scholars do the same thing that scientists do, folks. They go along with one another because they don't want ridicule. It's the truth. I mean, how do you stand on an argument with something that's flawed from its very roots, which is the church? Right? Because Jesus tells us over and over again, you are the church. The kingdom of God is found within, not out here in the world. You yourself are the kingdom of God. I know that's very hard for these ignorant people that are out there just waiting for any little thing to jump on you. It's very hard for your little brains to process that. But I mean, some of these people, when you look at them, well, you're not dealing with the best and brightest.
Yeah.
They can barely speak English, much less comprehend 6, 7 languages and read in 13 languages. When you can do all that, come back and tell me how you feel. Right? Until then, but and that sounds arrogant, but I don't have time for it. I don't. I got things to do. I don't focus on these people. I can't. There's just no time for it. So I'm not here to argue and debate. What I know is what I know. I'll tell you what I know. If I make a mistake, like earlier I said Jacksonville was the oldest, it's not, but it's right there with it, like Ken said.
Mm-hmm.
So it was literally like, adjacent to it, but it's St. Augustine. Sorry about that. And I'm glad that the people corrected me, because when you make a mistake, people correct you. And if you accept it because you're wrong, then so be it. Otherwise, you make mistakes and you're an ass. Right? But I know this. If you look at those Roman Caesars, they didn't have Jesus. None of them did.
Mm-hmm.
So how the hell were they going to have any kind of protection from whatever demonic influence? So if you have somebody who has absolute power over others and he has no Christ, what do you think is going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Very bad things. So you have an entire group of people who are anti-Christal in every sense of the word. Now, let Hugh hath understanding what I'm saying right now, because I'm not going to come out and say it on YouTube. But there's an entire cabal of people who have power right now in this world. They hold the world in their hands because their father, Shaitan, gave it to them. And their job is to corrupt us all. Because, and they're like, they do it because they hate God. Yeah, that's part of it. But you know why they really do it? Because if you don't have that shield, if you don't have that protection, if you don't have that armor, then guess what? You're an easy target. And when you're a target, you become a human battery. You become a high-level battery. You're a consumer. You don't produce. I mean, they don't produce anything. You do it. You see what I'm saying? So they need to knock that out of the equation. They need to knock Christ, which is the protection. The blood of Christ is the protection. When they knock that out of the way, it's not rocket science. It's very simple. You're open. So anything like what happened to Caligula, he has a fever. That guy could have been born with the best intentions in the world, and it wouldn't matter one bit, because he was given absolute power over the people, the Senate in Rome. And when you're given absolute power and you don't have any sort of protection, then something evil is going to consume you, and it's going to use you. Tiberius, scumbag. Caligula, scumbag. Claudius, still not a good guy, but he wasn't as Looney Tune as they were. But he was being drugged down by other forces, and he was manipulated. So same thing. And the result was the same. Another disaster. And then you had Nero, who came in. And he was just awful. He was terrible. The beast. He was known as the beast. And every Roman emperor and you end up with Elagabalus, worshiping the sun and walking around with a giant rock. He was a transgender. He had himself castrated, and he walked around with an Egyptian charioteer that would whip him in public. I mean, this is what we ended up with in Rome, folks.
Kind of sounds like the CERN ceremony.
Nero ended up murdering his pregnant wife. He murdered her in a fit of rage. And then he found a man that looked like her, that had her features. This is true. This really happened. And he had that guy castrated and forced him to go out in public and be his wife. This is some of the sickest stuff you could ever imagine. But let me tell you something. The people in charge, I'm not talking about right this minute, but the ones that are in charge of this world, they're the same damn people, dude. What do you think that the Illuminati are? You don't think that they would have been doing this if they could get away with it and they would do this? Why not? Why not have a woman swim champion? Right? Mm-hmm. What's the difference between having a woman in the locker room or a man? Well, if I was a woman and I had a man running around the locker room, I'd feel very unsafe. Kind of reminds you of these people, doesn't it? Because those people that are running everything and are in control, and there's a cabal of them, and they have their own religion too. And it has nothing to do with Christ. Absolutely nothing. But the people who do the worst, most sick, most disgusting things, they have this little trick they play on everybody. And that trick is to accuse you of doing whatever sick, evil shit that they're doing, what slimy crap that they're hiding, before you can accuse them. Gotcha. Oh, you're just saying what you're doing. Oh, and then they lie. And then it's just he said, she said. And then people look at it and they're just like, oh, I don't want to hear this. It's just that side against this side. But no, there is one side that is correct. There is. Not always. Not everything that they do, because the problem is that the good guys, that they fall into the trap of fighting evil with evil instead of letting God take care of it. Once you stop trying to fight evil with evil, and don't lie, don't do what they're doing, because the trash will take itself out. Now you can joke and make fun. I mean, that's your weapon. But you don't need to go and make 1,000 fake accounts and go and attack these people. Don't do that shit. I would never do that shit. And that they know that about me. Mm-hmm. You know that I don't fight dirty like you do. And so you think you have the upper hand. What I did was give it to God and let him decide. What a novel idea. You're always talking about God, because the evilest people on this planet love to talk about God. But rest assured, who they think of as God is not who you think of as God. And they've said this many times. They look at this being God as something that's totally foreign and alien to me. Their version of God is angry. He's manipulative. He's jealous. He's genocidal. He's homicidal. He's out for vengeance and blood. This is who they look at as God. I look at God as the being that Christ tells us he is. That is who I look at as God. That's the difference. Fighting fire with fire doesn't usually work out too well. Some of the best intentions, some of the best movements that they end up being usurped by the devil. And I don't mean the devil is in, I just mean is in something evil or bad always takes it. Because they're doing exactly what their enemies are doing. They're fighting, and then that leads to a war when you got to go about it a different way. To me, the best way is just to expose them. Show the world what they're doing. In the court of public opinion, they will be prosecuted, they will be dealt with, and then they will be handed their sentence. Because no matter how much power you have, one thing that always shuts these people down is when the masses have had enough of their shit. Do you know what happened to Nero? After the people had enough of his shit, he murdered his mother, he murdered his sister, he murdered his wife, and guess what? They had enough of his shit. And when the people were in revolt after they burned down Rome and started building this zoo or whatever, go read about it. It's crazy shit he did. The Praetorians were like, they're looking at each other like, throwing you in the Tiber is looking real good about now. And that's what happens. And then his final words, what an artist the world is losing. Really? Because that's what these people think of themselves. They're so narcissistic and they're so inflated with their own bullshit. One of the truest sayings ever is, to thine own self be true. You can shovel all the shit you want, but don't buy your own shit. You know, they say in drug dealers, don't get high on your own supply. These fuckers start sniffing their own farts, and they start thinking that they really did earn all those medals. You see these medals I got here? I made all these medals because this medal for me to learn to pee-pee, this one for me to make number 2, this one for me making good cookies with mommy. Yes, and this one here for me because I make good love sexy time. Women love me long time. And you're like, do you have any idea just how fucking crazy you are? Now I execute you. And it doesn't matter. You can kill 1 million people. You're still crazy as shit. Doesn't change the fact of what you are. Your mommy could wipe your ass and blow your nose all day long and jump in and fight your battles for you, probably protect you from the teachers and all of your peers and your dad and whoever the hell else tried to come against you. Mommy was there. Here she is right here, the lightsaber battle. Don't touch my son. Let him do what he wants. Then he becomes a blight on the earth. Then he's leading some cult somewhere, or who God knows, only God knows how evil these people get. They end up leading a country or something, God forbid, full of medals. Were you in the military? Yes, I joined as soon as I won president. Really? That's how you got all those medals? They go out there and they shoot and they move the targets so that the bullets hit it, and then they give them a medal. You won the shoot to sneer. That's in Germany. If you're in the army, that's like a high thing. But that's Americans go to Germany and you get a shoot to snare. You know what if you're in the military, you know what I'm talking about. But these people, they really think in their own mind that they're the shit. But you know what it starts? It starts at home. When mommy and daddy or whoever the hell is making these people. You made a poo-poo? Oh, you such a like what you know? I was at Whataburger one day. I saw this probably 20 years ago, and I'll still remember to this day. There was this older couple. They looked like they were probably in their early 40s. And they had this young child. And so, you know, there's something about these yuppies. Sometimes they'll wait till they're in their 40s. Well, honey, we can't have a child. We don't have supplemental insurance. You're right. We shouldn't have a child. So they'll plan it and do all this, and then by the time they have the kid, they're 46. And they're wondering why they can't conceive. Anyways, they had this little kid. He was a brat. You could just tell he was a little brat. And I'm sitting there on the phone, and I just noticed this kid doing, you know, whatever. Then he takes his I know it was his dad. It wasn't his grandpa. His dad says, "Son, can you throw this away?" And I'm over there like, you know, talking on the phone, whatever. The kid walks by me. He's all looking at me. You know, he's already got the mean mug going on. You just like, this kid's going to have problems. He's probably already serial killing at this point. And he goes and he throws the trash into he comes back and his parents are celebrating that he threw some trash away. Do you see why there's a problem in this country? Because this little brat could take a tray and throw some trash in the my parents would have been like, throw that away and do it quickly. We got to go. Okay. You go throw it away. You come back. They're not clapping hands and celebrating. Very good, son. Yay. You did some shit that everybody in the world does. You threw something, a piece of trash, in a receptacle. You get a gold star. What is that? That is the problem, folks. You don't get rewarded for just doing what you're supposed to do. It should be a standard in this country and in every other country on earth that you do what is right. You do what is correct. You don't mess with people. You leave people the hell alone. You mind your business unless it's something bad that somebody's being abused or if it's life-threatening or whatever. Take care of your shit. You take care of your children. You don't hurt them or touch them or do bad things to them. And then if you have elder parents or grandparents, you take care of them and you do what's right. You don't stick them in a home and forget about them. For the love of God, take care. Check on your neighbors. You know, be a good, decent person. Now it's like you get a gold star for the holy crap. This guy was good. I could tell you, man, he was awesome. He paid his taxes. He picked up his dry cleaning. This is a good guy, man. No shit. He did what he was supposed to do. Do what everybody does. Paid his bills. Endured way more shit than he should have from the people that are in charge. Probably had an a-hole for a boss, unless you're working for me. Let me tell you something. That's just life. Stop being a lazy shit nugget and get off your ass and do something for yourself. And if you think I'm talking about you, I probably am. Dude, my day starts like 4 or 5 hours after I go to sleep, and then I'm up, I'm doing stuff. And yeah, I may die before you. But I'm going to accomplish more in my life that you could have done in 10 of your lazy lives. Laziness and envy are at the heart of a lot of the problems, and not just in this community, but in this world. People are lazy. They want things, but they don't want to work for it. So they scheme. And then they're envious because you have those things that they won't work for. Does this sound about right? You do really good at work, and then you have some shithead coworker who's always trying to skirt around and get, and I've been there a million times. There was this one guy I used to work with, he's a Nicaraguan guy. I'll never forget this shitbag, dude. I worked at this chemical plant, And this dude was always cutting corners, always causing problems, was lazy as all hell and got away with it most of the time. So finally I quit. I quit because of him. I just got tired of it. I got sprayed with Matex because of him. You know what Matex is? Go look it up. It removes lead, and then there's a bunch of lead in it. Yeah, exactly. Got burned with nitric on my stomach because of him. I mean, I'm done. I was like, you know what? I'm done. They kept trying to get me to work. I said, no, you want me to stay? Get rid of that guy. You're not going to get rid of him? Okay, bye. See ya. Well, if we fire him, his brother will leave, and his brother's a really good. Well, good. Then keep them. They were out of business in 6 months because you kept shitbags around and let good people walk instead of promoting them, because if once they'd have promoted me, I'd have fired his ass. That is the problem, folks, right there. Those are the problems in this world, because a simple thing, right? You praise people when they do good, and I mean like they really do good. It should be a standard procedure to just do what's right. When you have a job, just do what you're supposed to do. But some people, they feel like you have to pat them on the back to even do the simplest of tasks. And you better give them something, go above and beyond. Well, they want the paycheck, but they want more. Because, you know what they did? They picked up some trash and threw it away, and their parents gave them a party and celebrated it. And now you're not doing that. That is the issue right there. I'm not going to throw a party for you because you threw some trash away. How about this? How about I don't beat your ass? That's the reward you get. How about that? What it be? That's about my parents would have been like, you want a reward? Huh? You want 50 cents? How about I give you 50 slaps? Oh no, I'm good. We don't need it. We're good. I don't even know why I asked. I'm good. That would have been my dad. He did teach me some things. You get smacked around by somebody enough, you might learn some things. But that's a problem. That's a problem. A lot of people, they don't. They just don't. And we need to stop rewarding those and stop falling for this bullshit from these people in charge that tell you these absolute bullcrap lies. They're just shoveling this crap out. It's so crazy. Anyways, that's it, folks. That's all I got to say for now. I'm gonna leave you alone. You go about your day. I got a long, big day ahead of me tomorrow. I got a lot of things to do. I hope you all have a great weekend. I hope it's nice. I hope you have a good week. I hope everybody that's here has a good weekend. Even if you hate my guts, and even if you don't like me, you hate me, and you're gonna go type up some mean things, bad poo-poo caca head things about me, God forgive you. I forgive you. I don't care. I just hope that you find your way. And you know what I also hope? I hope you have a good weekend. And maybe one day you'll realize I'm not your enemy. You don't have a problem with me. You have a problem with yourself and your inability to be held accountable. And when people start doing that, and you've never had that before in your life, it changes everything. You have that privilege that you've always had. You got to learn perception is the key to everything. If you had a little bit of perception to stop and see what you're doing, maybe, just maybe, you would change. But instead, you surround yourself with enablers, with weirdos and freaks, sorcerers. Seriously, people do this. They surround themselves with weirdos, dude. Stop hanging around with communists and wizards and trans whatever the hell. And maybe you'll be more of a normal person, more even killed. Stop being around enablers. Because if you're those people that are doing those things, you're going to keep having problems, and you're going to keep hating PRT, because all we do is win, baby. That's all we do. Like the Raiders, just win, baby. That's what we do. And guess what's going to happen? Sunday, we're going to come back and we're going to drop it like it's hot again, and you're going to gnash your teeth or you're going to jump for joy. But either way, if you're a paratrooper, you're going to win. So who's going to win tonight, folks? If your name is in green, tell me, hey, I want to win, and let's get this going here. Well, I thank you, Cryptid Commission. Thank you. He says, I got your back. He says, yes, all we do is win. That's right, baby. That's all we do. And so look at this guy. He just won. Look at that. Look at this guy. I don't even know who he is, but he's got the sword with the blood of his enemies on there. He won. You know what he did? He took life by the balls and was like, you know. I don't even know what this right here is, but it's probably his name, Elmer. And he just said, I want more in life than just to pick fleas off of me and eat them. So you know what he did? He went and he got some samurai armor and a sword, and he went out and he conquered his enemies. He's Nobunaga in an alternate reality where apes ran everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm tired of the ceremony. It's just foolish and stupid. And now I'm going to show you what happens to those who bow with no legion behind them. He did.
Bonobo Nobunaga.
But Nobunaga Bona. Nobabona. But he did it. He says, now look behind me. Where is your army? You don't have one. Like Dave Chappelle says, you know what you should do? Sanction me. Sanction me with your army. Oh, that's right. You don't have one. Sorry. You don't have those paratroopers, do you? You don't. Anyways, that's what we do. We win. So Marlo Martin says, I want to win more. So that means you've already won. So let me give someone a chance here. Paul Pachura says, I want to win a gold star. Well, you get it, buddy. You get a gold star. Oh, what's up, Lucky? I haven't seen Lucky the Beagle and Molly for a long time. I haven't seen you posting in here. What's going on with you? Rebecca says, paratrooper for life. So if your name is in green, let's start with somebody who hasn't won. If you haven't won, and then we'll let somebody who has, because if your name is in green, just say, look, I haven't won, and I would like something, okay? And we'll get you something. Jason, you said you won the other night. Did you ever get anything, or we have not sent it out to you yet? I think we did. Rebecca says she's won. Chris Guthrie, there we go. Chris Guthrie says, I have not won. I haven't won. So, Chris, tell him how to do it, Anthony, and I'll post the banner down at the bottom.
Yeah, so all of giveaways winners, go ahead and send an email with your name, your YouTube handle, your mailing address, and your shirt size to giveaways@prtpodcast.com. And there should be like a banner at the bottom that's scrolling, and you can catch it there too. But again, it's giveaways@prtpodcast.com.
So Lucky the Beagle and Molly says never won. But are you in the United States? I don't remember if you're from England or not. Oh, cool. Ken Christian. Love that guy. He says, I got my package today. Thank you, PRT. Awesome. We love giving things away here. Awesome. I like that statement. We are winning. We woke up this morning. That's exactly right. Yep, Michelle. Yep, absolutely. In Arkansas. Okay, Lucky, cool. So then, because otherwise I'd have to get you a book from Paul Sinclair because the shipping is so ridiculous to England. They've just made everything so hard. In Canada too. I had to send it to Dick Richards. We had to give him his stuff up in Canada. Great guy. Was on the show on Monday. So Lucky, you win. Send us like Anthony said, just send us a giveaways at prtpodcast.com. Giveaways at prtpodcast.com. And we'll send you something to Arkansas. I love Arkansas. It's a beautiful place. Very beautiful state. Very beautiful. And anybody else want to win? Let's see who hasn't won. Anybody? So just send us your name and send us your address and your shirt size. And if we don't have your size, we'll send you a hat or we'll give you something. Don't worry. You'll get something cool. What is this Elastic is talking about? Michael J. Bernard has to call into that other oh gosh. All right. Oh well. Anyway. So anybody else? Somebody else want to win? Tell me if you want to win.
What the what
is
heck
that? You hear that though? It's 3
Yeah.
times. 1, 2, 3 every time. We just heard it again. And that can't be from the lawyer. That's coming from the lawyer's office. There's nobody over there. We'll call Darwin tomorrow and ask him because that's spooky. And we were going to take over that side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not much different than being over here. Weird, creepy stuff happening. So Cryptic Commission says, I already won like 6 weeks ago, but you didn't get your stuff? Hard Luck Ace says, I want a shirt of whiskey. You send it to me. Okay, cool. Cryptic Commission, if you didn't get your stuff, then you need to email us at giveaways@prtpodcast.com. Tell us 6 weeks ago you did not, and tell us you want your stuff, and we will send it to you. And you don't have to be a winner for tonight. You should just have that. Yeah, the storm. A lot of people keep talking about this. Is there somebody who hasn't won recently? Let's go there. Yeah, Paul, we haven't mailed out from last Sunday yet. We're mailing off every 2 weeks. So just be patient. You'll get your stuff. Now, remember, when the store opens, you can buy the regular standard stuff from the store, what we have there. And we'll rotate stuff out. But the giveaways are going to be things that you can't get at the store. So if you want something, the mainstay merchandise, this stuff is specialty stuff, typically. Okay. So we do these specialty things, and then we use those as giveaways. Yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't know your first name on the deal. I should, because I remember you sending an email. But dude, you got to remember, I get a million emails, and I'm not the only one that checks them either. So, Carlos Hernandez says, "I want to win. To wind? You want to wind? What do you want to wind? What's that? I know what you're saying, Carlos. So, do you want to win? Have you won before, Carlos?" That's interesting, Andres. You need to bring that up on the show on Monday. So Carlos, he says no. Okay, so you haven't won. So then you win, Carlos. We pick you. How about that? And Cryptic Commission, resend your information so we can mail you something out, so we can get your stuff to you. If you want to be eligible to win, it's $5, and your name goes in green, and it's easy to win. And then just say, hey, I haven't won. You could just literally buy a membership, $5 right now, and say, I haven't won, and you can be picked. So that's it. So send us your information, and if by some chance we miss you, because we now with the new email just specifically for the giveaways, it's going to be a lot easier to keep track. We couldn't keep track of it with the other email because all the stories and everything are coming into that email. Not to mention all of the different things that we have to pay to keep the show going, like what's it called, Anchor, and then we had like GoDaddy.
Yeah.
All these other, what does that do? It does some kind of crap.
It's the web host.
Web post, whatever. We have to pay. It costs money to do this. So there's all this money that goes in. We have to pay. And so the bills all go through that email along with everybody's encounters and stories that are coming to that email. And we're still getting stories and encounters from Das Wolf 88. That's that email. So, yeah. So what we're going to start doing, though, is we're going to start doing the giveaways 3 times a week. And we're going to cut down from 3 to 2. We got to do that until we can re-up on the supplies. All right. And we can't re-up on the supplies until we finish paying for everything we got to pay for, because tax season and money's kind of tight right now. So we're going to start doing the giveaways. We're going to do it like this. We're going to do the giveaways on Mondays, Wednesdays, and we're going to do the giveaways on Sunday. Or no, wait, I'm sorry. Is that right? Is it going to be Mondays, Wednesday, Friday, and it'll be 4 days?
Yeah.
It'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. We're going to give away 2 things per day. So it'll be 8 people will win every week. So 8 times 4, it's like 30 people a month are going to win something. But like I said, if you want to get something that you're not going to be able to get it from us giving it away. This is only the specialty stuff, unless we're out of it. So if you want one of those regular basic with the regular original badass logos, you're going to have to go to the store for that. This is just the specialty stuff that we're giving away. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing. So we're going to do that for a couple months. We're going to see how that works. It's going to be 2 people per day. The last of the 3 people, we'll do the 3 people this coming Sunday. And then it'll be, after that, it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Okay. So then, and there'll be 2 people we'll be giving away 2 people per day on those days. Okay. So that way, so join the membership. You get the $5 and you pay for it, and you can win again. We give stuff to people multiple times. Like sometimes people don't answer. We're just like, you know what? We'll give it to someone has already won. So you might get a hoodie and a t-shirt and a cap and who knows what. But like I said, if you don't want to try to wait around or whatever, just order from the website, and that will be up in a few days. So, all right, guys, thank you. We'll see you again on Sunday. Thank you for watching the show, and thank you for listening to my rant. And just really and truly, all of us need to take care of each other and just do better. How hard is it to try to do better? And you don't need to be rewarded for just doing good. We reward you just for showing up at the show because we like you and we care. But throwing some trash in a receptacle shouldn't be a fiesta. That's all I'm saying. I mean, that's kind of stuff that should have been learned as children, but instead we're being poo-poo caca pee-pee, and all. I didn't have that. So I learned to be an adult when I was like 14, 15. I was like an adult. So everybody, thank you. Good night. We love you. We'll see you.